get a check of your local headlines.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you exclusively on Kiss FM by J. Michael Fashion for Everyone. Happy Tuesday, Sandy.
Hello.
Hey, good morning. Happy Tuesday. How are you guys doing?
We're all right. What do you got for us this morning?
Fantastic. So this is a bit of an interesting one, but it seems like our animal welfare officers are at risk of being threatened not by animals, but by people. Well, animals too, apparently. The Department of Agriculture has said that action has been taken after several of its officers were threatened while carrying out their duties. Wow.
People that abuse animals also want to threaten humans. Odd.
I know, right? Imagine that.
No correlation at all.
People should remember that these public officers do have enforcement powers, and making a threat towards them is considered a very serious offense. And so, the animal welfare and control officers risk their lives daily, said Adrian Eswick, Director of Agriculture, to carry out their duties to ensure the safety of the animals and the community. So anyone who wishes to take issue with that should be reminded that sections 82 to 84 of the law permits animal welfare officers to enforce animal welfare and to investigate and prosecute offenders for animal cruelty. And if you dare, harass or threaten any of them, you'll be reported to the police, investigated, and dragged before the courts for that additional offense as well.
Well, I don't think you're going to be reasoning with those people that are listening right now.
I know, it's crazy. But in other news, there's been this whole CXC thing where allegedly the papers were leaked, exam papers were leaked. Yes. So they've come to a bit of a, compromise. The Department of Education Services has said that the Caribbean Examination Council has investigated the concerns into the CXEC. Math papers too being leaked in some Caribbean countries. And after meeting with the examining board and other regional education officials on Friday, they have decided that essentially the candidates, their students, final grades in math will now be determined by their performance in the school-based assessment in paper 1 and not on paper 2. So, looks like they pretty much confirmed it happened. And that's the workaround. Pretty crazy. Looks like the math papers leaked in Jamaica, of all places. That's the origin of the leak. The police are looking for a man who is on bail in a firearm incident. He is wanted by police. He's 29-year-old Kadeem Andre Jonathan, really interesting spelling of that name, Hurlston. He was granted bail in relation to a previous firearms-related incident, but has failed to answer his bail conditions. So the police are now looking for him. So if you know him, do contact them. They are saying that he should not be approached by members of the public, but instead just call 911 if you actually see him.
Okay.
One final one. This one's a kicker. Yesterday, I think we may have mentioned that there's a stolen vehicle over the weekend.
I read that.
Guess where it showed up?
They parked it right by the police station to make it easy for them.
This guy parked it at the police station pretty much. And
I did not see that happening.
Yeah.
This is like the one car they're looking for on island. This guy rolls into the, by the central police station.
Off, goes and gets something.
Leaves it there.
You see the guy out there with a rag wiping down his prints. That's not suspicious at all. And then how long did it take for them to find it?
Not too long. He left it there with the keys inside, and so now I think they're still looking for him. Those are your news headlines today.
I'm pretty sure you guys leaked his name. You guys
have a fantastic day.
I think they'll find him soon.
All right.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. No, Tuesday. Hello. It's Rundown Tuesday. My goodness. I still want it to be Monday. I told you guys how much I love me a Monday. Oh my. But here we are. It's Tuesday already, and we are just trucking along through this beautiful week. Hope you guys are having a fantastic one. Just doing a little cursory weather check by looking out my window here in Lower Valley. And it looks like it's going to be a sunshiny day everywhere you go today. However, showers are always possible because you live in the tropics, in the Caribbean. All right, beautiful folks. Listen, one of the things that I absolutely love about our Rundown Tuesday segments is the fact that a lot of you will reach out and say, hey, I want to hear about this particular topic. And I'm like, okay. I pass it along to Shamari and he just makes it happen. You know, I've got the easy role here, and that I just show up and the experts come on and provide you all with amazing information. So someone reached out just a couple days ago, last week, I think it might've been Friday or Thursday. And they said, hey, Sandy, I don't know if you've ever done a morning show on anxiety and ways to, just bring about a little bit of relief if you're suffering from stress, anxiety, mental health issues. And I think that a lot of us recognize, particularly during COVID, that there was a lot of that happening. And people were, particularly, vulnerable to these types of things. But, we kind of put it to the side and moved on. But, the people who are suffering obviously have not moved on. So I think it's an important topic for us to always keep in mind as being extremely relevant. So we do have Shamari Scott, who's joining us this morning, Chief Business Officer at Health City, Cayman Islands. Good morning, Shamari. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Cayman Islands. Great to be here once again.
Yes,
and just to mention that, obviously you give me the heads up in regards to the topics, but we have a great team back at Health City, and want to give a shout out to Miss Kifra, who is new to the team, but is always on it, always able to speak to the doctors, always able to get the topics, provide the briefs, and provide all of the graphics that you need to show throughout the show. So definitely a great addition to the team, and a big shout out to her as well.
Yeah, she does a fantastic job. So we also have Dr. Diwakar.
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 Yeah, Diwakar.
Okay, Diwakar. Sorry, Sharma, who is joining us this morning. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning to both of you. Pleased to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is quite an important topic. Again, I was talking about, during COVID, I think we sort of collectively recognize that a lot of people are struggling with mental health issues, especially your kids. Their schedules and lives were interrupted like nothing else, but also adults. A lot of adults, I was thinking about, the fact that this was the first major pandemic episode that we've lived through. Unless you're a senior, you probably wouldn't remember some of the other ones. But this was kind of tough for a lot of people, and here we are now looking at Mental Health Awareness Month. But we've come out of COVID slowly. But I wonder, based on the messages that we've been receiving, how many people are still struggling with some mental health concerns. Do you have a fix, doctor, on what we're looking at here in the Cayman Islands? How many people do you think are struggling from, whether it's, anxiety or something a bit more serious when it comes to mental health disorders?
Well, I wouldn't have the data for the whole of the island, but I can
Mm-hmm.
speak for myself, the kind of patients that come and see me,
Mm-hmm.
especially after the COVID, and still continues to the date. Uh, it's predominantly almost 80 to 90% of my people
Mm-hmm.
uh, who still are struggling for one reason or the other, and somehow COVID only made it worse for them. COVID did trigger it for a lot of people, but I would say that most of them were vulnerable to that situation of
Mm-hmm.
being secluded and limited and inhibited by the circumstances of that time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what makes people vulnerable to, maybe having an episode when something like a pandemic happens, a divorce, a death? Are there some things that you tend to look for that might make someone a bit more likely to have mental health issues?
Always, I mean, that is the understanding of most mental illnesses, that they start with some sort of a predisposition,
Mm-hmm.
which could lie in your genetics. It could
Mm-hmm.
lie in the way your upbringing had been. It could be about the kind of job you have been doing for a while now. It could be
Mm-hmm.
about your financial situation that predisposes you to what a precipitating factor might be able to do to you, like a COVID happening or some sort of a enforced situation that you are not really ready to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And situations such as these, which precipitate a problem, are not sufficient enough to make it last long enough unless there's something that is perpetuating the situation. So
Right.
it's the PPP of the problem that we look for.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so we should, even when we're thinking about ourselves, because, a lot of times we can recognize perhaps that we might need some help as well as those around us. We need to understand that sometimes it creeps up a little bit. So it's just a matter of recognizing that you need help and then knowing, of course, that help is actually available to you.
That's right. Uh, any day, that's true. That we have to be self-aware about our shortcomings, our possible fallings. So yeah, you're right.
Hmm.
And Sandy, forgive me, but I didn't jump in with introducing who Dr.
Oh,
Walker
yes.
is.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's been with us for it seems like a long time now, because
Yes.
COVID fast forwarded a lot of things, but in other instances, when I look back to see when he joined us, I was like, what, 2018? But the 3 years that we were going through COVID is like a snap, right?
Oh, yeah. Trust.
But Dr. Dwaka has over a decade of experience, and he specializes in various subspecialties, right? So whether it's alcohol de-addiction, drug de-addiction, tobacco de-addiction, depression counseling, psychological counseling, and also schizophrenia types of disorders. So Dr. DeWalker does many different things, but those are the areas that really interest him, that he also subspecializes in. And even when you look at, for instance, Sandy, we're always talking about holistic care. When you
Mhm.
look at our bariatric program or our weight loss program, we have various times where we would bring in Dr. DeWalker to make sure that the person is in the right state of mind to be able to the person's doing it for the right reasons, and will be able to continue afterwards. And he's
Mhm.
a part of that holistic care to ensure that people are the right candidates, and gives us the best probability for success on the back end. Just as an example, but
Mhm.
Dr. DeWalker is a great addition to the team back in 2018. And even if patients come in for other ailments, and they're in front of an orthopedic physician or a general surgeon, and they start to mention another area that may be concerning them, then we're able to get them over to see Dr. DeWalker if they agree and if it makes sense, and he's able to see them as well. And that's why it's always great to have so many great specialties under one roof, in that the human body, if something is wrong, many times it's not just one thing. But
Mhm.
we're able to identify and then bring in the different subspecialties to be able to make sure that we cure the entire human per se, versus just one specific part. So huge thank you to Dr. DeWalker for all he's done. And he came in just in time, because when the pandemic happened, especially when we were in lockdown. Health City didn't stop our work, and we were able to create all of these virtual videos and such that we were pushing through social media. And as you
Mhm.
were mentioning, mental health was such a big component of it. And Dr. DeWalker, we must have had like 8 different videos talking about the various aspects of how, for individuals who may not have dealt with those levels of stress previously, how to deal with it to make sure that we didn't have more issues on the back end. So a huge thank you for Dr. DeWalker for that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you,
Um,
Shumari.
yeah, no, it's I think it's amazing the availability of experts, at Health City Cayman Islands, because quite frankly, sometimes we just think of one or two areas of specialty, but wow, you've got it fully covered there, Shamari, with all of the physicians and support staff, which I think is fantastic. So this morning, folks, in case you're just joining the program, we're talking about mental health awareness month. Very, very important topic. Feel free to call in 936-2626. We all suffer, from different things when it comes to mental health and awareness. And of course, like any other topic, this is a disease. This is disorders that can be treated with professional assistance, and there are things that can be done. And look at that. We got a call already in the program. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning,
Yes,
boys.
good
And
morning.
I just want to say I was literally just talking to my partner in regards to mental health
Mm,
and saying it's something that I feel passionate about looking into
yes,
is even
absolutely.
to provide a form of support. And I, I think one of my biggest concerns
Mhm.
is the younger community's reaction to someone going through something that's traumatic
Mm,
or that sometimes we're even self-aware and we reach out to someone, or we're
mm,
self-aware and we're afraid to reach out, and that's one of
mhm,
the biggest causes of mental health. Sandra, I really um, enjoy your shows, and you have
mhm.
been bringing up some topics that are really passionate to me, so I really appreciate it. So continue to
Yes.
do the good
Thank you
job.
so
Okay.
much. Yes, thank you
All
for
right.
that amazing comment. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, folks, 936-2626. I don't want us to shy away from this topic because again, a lot of us might think we're coping. Well, we may or may not be. Dr. Duarker will certainly give us some suggestions and things to look out for here this morning. But let's not be shy about any topic. No topic is off limit here. Health City Cayman Islands brings all of the medical topics, whether it's general health care, cancers, mental health, nutrition, everything to the forefront. So this is your opportunity. If you have a question for yourself or anybody else, please do reach out this morning. You can WhatsApp me, of course, or you can also call the program. So what exactly is mental health? So perhaps having a good understanding, Dr. Diwakar, and what that is would be helpful.
So, of course, like any other discussion about physical health, we often miss out on what mental health would mean.
Mm-hmm.
In general, the idea of being in health is absence of disease and disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that holds true for mental health too. It's a state of being mentally well. Uh, when we say mentally, what we are specifically trying to talk about is the way we think about things, the way it makes us feel, and how that influences our behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's a web of these, predominantly these three things that we utilize to understand what mental means, and rest of it is obvious when we say health.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So, of course, let's talk about why it's important. So, there's a number of things here that we need to be looking at. The suicide rate. I know that this is something that has come up amongst children in particular, but also adults. Has increased as a result of COVID. I saw some statistics recently relating to the mental health of our children that I thought was really quite shocking and surprising. So let's talk really, about what are we talking about here, especially with adolescents and younger people.
Yeah, so this has been really a very concerning thing in last few years, almost a decade now, that we are
Hmm.
seeing a pattern where youngsters are being noticed to be more vulnerable to suicidal attempts as well as completed suicides.
Mm.
This pattern seems to be catching up not just with the developed part of the world, but also developing countries too. So it's a statement that we do need to talk about. We do need to put it into the mainstream discussion and open our eyes to the vulnerabilities our younger generation is facing. Uh, the stats look scary when we say that suicide is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. The first reason is probably the road traffic accidents, but the second reason is scary to be suicide.
Yes. Wow. Quite shocking, really. And again, it's a conversation that we have to ensure that we're not afraid of. Mental health conditions increasing around the world. So we see that between 2007 and 2017, there's a 13% rise in mental health conditions and substance use disorders. Any idea what's fueling the increase?
Uh, there could be several factors that could be specific to a particular place or country. But in general, there is a rise in social pressure. There is a rise in access to situations and substances, which make it harder for one's mental health to stay stable.
Really shocking. And I think that for children in particular, social media is one of the things. We're going to look at some of the causes here, but social media is one of the things that I don't know if it causes mental health issues, but it certainly can exacerbate it and really put children under a lot of undue pressure. So let's look at some of the known causes of mental health. So we've got everything from family history straight down to grief. So let's talk about some of these specifically.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, the causes could be classified, or the pathogenesis, how a mental illness starts to happen. It starts right there from our genetics, the kind of genes we have received from our parents. We do carry certain vulnerabilities as a population or as a part of being victims of trauma, which our parents or their parents had to endure. The remnants of it do pass on through our genetics. So there are
And
in fact
can I
very
pause you right there, Dr. Dewakar, because I've talked about this on the program before, and I'm not so sure that it's really like sunk in for people how trauma in particular has the ability to be encoded on your DNA. And it's passed on from literally, as you just said, from one generation to another. So when you've had really big traumatic events like the Holocaust, like slavery that lasted hundreds of years, and you see, African American people struggling with all sorts of issues. I think that when you put it in context, that what your ancestors went through, not just a singular traumatic event, which can be enough to impact the coding of your DNA, but hundreds of years from one generation to the next that has embedded on on your genes, and so it changes who people are. It changes the genetics of an entire race of individuals. And I think that that shouldn't be dismissed because it can explain a lot of things that we see, even in the wider context of, we've got politicians and policymakers and, the civil service. They're looking at ways to address criminality, to address, antisocial behavior and all of these things. But if they're trying to address all of that without acknowledging the source of some of the issues at the very least, then, how much can you really hope to achieve?
Yeah, you're right. I think the problem is that we are in a hurry to make sense of things, and we may try to use what is visible to us right now. Whereas most of the problems we are facing today are consequences of things that have been going under the surface for a long, long time.
Very, very true. All right. So we've got some other causes here that we're going to look at. So biology. What do we mean when we say biology?
I think what it means is that how our body is shaped through our experiences. Since we talk about this idiom that the body and mind is one and same. So anything that influences us, like infection, certain infections which mothers have can be changing the way the body reacts for the child as they grow older. Certain other afflictions, even if it's not an infection, certain illnesses predispose one to have more mental illnesses, for example, epilepsy or multiple sclerosis or any chronic illness for that matter, makes you more vulnerable to have more mental health problems.
Very interesting. Childhood trauma. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. I've just skipped a history of abuse. Let's not skip that one because I think that's really, really important. A history of abuse, and I feel like childhood trauma could probably go a little bit hand in hand. But what specifically are we talking about for those two?
I think we did touch upon indirectly on that, but it makes sense to be specific about it. That childhood experiences, that's a formative stage for adulthood and the rest of our lives. So the impacts really resonate throughout our lifetimes if it's traumatic one. It changes the way we learn to react to situations. It changes the way we learn to read situations, which leads to further complications and accumulation of more and more issues.
And if I can sort of expound on this bit a little bit more, because I'm always pushing for, I'm a parent myself now, but even before I was a parent, I was always pushing for, parents and members of the community to sort of think outside of the box when it comes to disciplining children and looking for a more gentle approach to disciplining. We talk about, for example, the 10 adverse childhood experiences, which we know have a significant impact on the development of children into young people and into adults, and what some of the remnants of that will do long-term implications for their entire lives. So what do you say to parents who are perhaps listening to the program and thinking about what is it that they can do when it comes to their methodology of child rearing? How can they impact their children in a positive way, knowing that these adverse childhood experiences are something that they carry with them their entire lives? They're called ACEs. Everything from physical abuse, obviously sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and emotional abuse. There's a wide gamut of examples of that, from belittling your children, rejecting them, ridiculing them. Like I see people doing this all the time, where they make fun of kids and they change their voice and they mimic them. Blaming, threatening, isolating kids, restricting social interactions, even denying the child an emotional response, or purposely not talking to children for extended periods of time.
Yes, you're right. That's very common behavior amongst parents. And I believe that it's mostly driven by a desperation for something we want our kids to be better about. So it's this intervening stage of feeling desperate to get results out of our kids, as if a lot is on stake in that moment when we are behaving that way with the kids, punishing them indirectly or directly. It's an indirect punishment that parents withhold themselves from not talking to them, or going on the other side of the spectrum to be even abusive. So they do have an impact in a in the long term of things for those kids. One thing that parents should need to understand is that this is not the same time as we or their parents might have grown up, and the way we were parented becomes a template for us to utilize in parenting our kids. It's a different world, and we have a better understanding, and we are better versions of ourselves, I believe.
Yeah.
So
and ultimately, we should be aiming to improve upon whatever our parents did with us. Nobody gets this perfect handbook on how to raise children in an imperfect world, right? So you learn as you go along. Obviously, every child is different, every situation is different, but I think ultimately the goal is to try to improve upon whatever may have happened in your past. And there are times that we just don't know how to do that. So if someone comes to you, doctor, and they're looking for like practical advice on how to move past their own trauma, because a lot of us are walking around with baggage, so to speak, right? We have our own trauma that we've kind of swept neatly in a corner, and we try to think, oh, we can forget about it. But there are times when it seeps up in our relationships, in our interpersonal relationships, how we relate to our children and other people who are very, very close to us, they get to see the remnants very, very clearly of the trauma. So, what are your recommendations for parents or people in that situation? Is it best that I come and unpack my own trauma, get therapy? Is that really the way to then move forward and have more meaningful and productive and engaging personal interpersonal relationships?
I agree with you that there's a lot of trauma and baggage that people carry. But I do also believe at the same time that having a baggage is inevitable, unavoidable, because it's the way we are wired.
Hmm.
Unless we make something so important that it hurts us, we can't just get better at it. It's the way we conduct our psychology.
Hmm.
Um, but when people come to me, and the most important aspect of it is that either they have successfully accepted that they have a baggage and an issue from the
Right.
past, or it's pointed out to them with a
Uh-huh.
professional helping them or a friend maybe. It's not about the person who's helping. The fact that you're able to identify, that's the first step.
Right.
And after that, things become a relatively easier.
Hmm.
So in that process, if someone is not able to do it on their own, then yes, professional help is definitely advisable.
Hmm. Very good. Unresolved conflict, I guess that's pretty much what we were just talking about there. Long-term stress, social issues such as poverty, debt, illness, grief. So let's talk about the social issues because I think this is also important. I know that there are a lot of policymakers who do tune into the program and they listen. How do social issues contribute to mental health issues?
Well, one of the biggest social issue we already touched on in the form of COVID.
Mm.
But the kind of social issues that resonate with most people are related to their social network, the kind of people they have to sit and breathe and live with, the environment of finance, the environment of relationships, the environment of profession. Uh, in general, bigger political issues do indirectly contribute to an individual's mental health too.
Hmm.
So it it's a contribution from different directions for different people. Some vary more for them, some weigh more in their mental health problems, some weigh less. So I guess it's a very individual situation
Hmm.
that looks in-depth analysis, individualizing it.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting, folks. 936-2626 is the telephone number. We're talking about mental health issues. If you struggled with something, feel free to call in and share. I feel like we all have. And part of the way in which we can relate to each other, we can sympathize with each other, empathize with each other, really, is sharing these collective stories of mental health and grief and, things that at some point most of us will experience, illness being a big one. We have an aging population. And sometimes, as caregivers, it's the caregiver who's going to undergo quite a bit of stress, but also someone who might have, doctor, a physical ailment, but their mind is aware of what the body is going through. What are your thoughts there? I can automatically, a few friends and acquaintances come to mind who I know. For example, there's an individual who's living with a disorder that will eventually take his life, and this is something that every time I see him, he talks about. The doctors have said, okay, put your affairs in order. And he's got children, he's got a wife, he's got a business, he's got all these things that he has to keep afloat, and he's thinking about what the eventual passage of his life will mean to all of those individuals.
So this is for people who are struggling for long term.
Hmm.
It makes sense for somebody to understand why they will struggle mentally also,
Hmm.
because of the length of time they have to deal with and cope with adverse situations.
Hmm.
uh, Illnesses that long lasting in our bodies, they do also change the way our brain works, and brain is the seat of what we think, how we feel. There's a stronger lobby of scientists, it's getting stronger day by day, who believe that inflammation is one of the reasons why people get depression uh,
Hmm.
with whether they have a long-standing illness or they have no overt illnesses, but some sort of inflammation is continuing to happen in their bodies, and the mediators of that inflammation biologically do trigger them for having mental issues at some point.
That's very interesting. I had a young lady not too long ago confide that she suffers from depression, and she was talking a little bit about how that impacts her life and how people are kind of like, in this community in particular, they're like, oh, just pray about it. It'll go away. Or, think positive. Like people think it's so easy when they say things like that's going to just make your mental health, whether it's depression, bipolar disorder, other things, it's just going to make it go away if you pray about it. Like God will solve all of your problems. Or if you think positive thinking has the power to just make what can be a biological or chemical imbalance just disappear on its own. What do you say to those of us who have people in our circle of friends or family who are dealing with mental health disorders? How should we be responding to those individuals?
First of all, the response should not be out of obligation that we have to say something or react to it. I think when someone is willing to open up about their struggle, they are coming from this place of just letting themselves out, not closing themselves in. So sometimes being receptive is the only thing that we need to do. You do not have to be reactive or judgmental. You just have to listen quietly. And if you read the room and understand that the person wants you specifically to do something about it, and it is within your power to do it, why not? Talking about religion, being in a positive state of mind, all those things are helpful to some extent if this issue is not severely pathological. Like if someone's going through a milder situation and it is not influencing their lifestyle or their ability to function so significantly, then these could be good advices, but the other person should be receptive about that advice. That's crucial.
Super interesting. So again, folks, don't be shy. 936-2626. We do have a comment here. Miss Lucille, thank you so much for this. Miss Lucille says, good morning, Sandy, and all those doctors. I'd love to know. They have a mental health service there at home. Mental health can be a chronic disease, and it does not give you warning. Sometimes you don't know when it hits. When it hits you, I can say it is not a good feeling. You get different thoughts in your head. At times, I know stress is one of the main sources. If I am wrong, I would love the doctor explain to me. So, she's talking about some of the causes, and we're going to get to this one here about grief. Is it possible? I guess it is, when you think about grief, for a singular event to really be the trigger for an individual's mental health episode, right? So grief is a big one. I mean, my gosh, you lose a loved one and it's like you feel like your life is just spiraling out of control, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's nobody in the world who hasn't lost a loved one. And we do sense the feeling called grief at least once in our lives. So it's a normal reaction to some extent for all of us to have. In fact, if we don't have a reaction, that's more pathological. So yes, you're right in saying that grief does have a significant role to play. If someone is vulnerable, it can really lead you into bigger problems. But it is rare to see people who do not have vulnerabilities, who do not have a history of issues. They do well, even despite of losing someone they loved and cared for. Working through the grief, it's a sign of being healthy. Going through grief is not unhealthy, but getting through it, that confirms the mental healthy state they are in.
All right, let's look at some symptoms then, because I'm sure we're all sitting down thinking this morning, how do I know that someone is, having a mental health episode, something that I might be concerned about? So some of the signs and symptoms you might recognize in yourself: feeling sad or down, inability to cope with daily problems or stress, confused thinking, excessive fears or worries, excessive feelings of guilt, major changes in eating habits. That's super interesting. And extreme mood changes, highs and lows, and withdrawal from friends and activities. Doc, anything that we can say specifically in relation to some of these symptoms?
Yeah, so pretty much most of them are explanatory on their own.
Yes.
But I think what we are trying to generalize here are the more general problems that people often pass on as something trivial. It's easy to just say that I'm feeling sad today. It's okay. Let me just give it some more time. And even after some time, you feel that now it's been so long that maybe this is the new normal for me. So those people are not able to identify the impact it is having with each passing day on their ability to function as a professional, as a family member of other people, as a friend to somebody, or as an individual of all the things. So it's very important to understand the contrast of how one was functioning versus how they're functioning now if they are having any of these symptoms. It is an indicator of the severity of the symptom, that how much impact it causes in their ability to function. So all the symptoms mentioned here, one of them also talks about stress, as Miss Lucille was also mentioning. If we can take that up here right now. So yes, stress is a big reason these days that comes into play when we are struggling mentally. Stress is also a kind of a reaction to adverse, unexpected situations. We are bound to get stressed if we are going to appear for a very important interview, or we do have an exam coming up. We are supposed to react to it in the form of stress. Now, stress has various components. Major two components are that our body has a biological reaction to it, and we have a psychological reaction to adverse situations. So, consequently, stress is physical and mental. The problem doesn't lie with acute stress, as we do have coping mechanisms to deal with psychological stress, and our biology also has its own mechanisms to deal with it. But sometimes experiencing these symptoms physically or psychologically, it sort of creates its own problems. Like, for example, people, when they get scared, their heartbeat starts racing. They feel uncomfortable in their body. They start trembling for a moment. They might forget about what really triggered it in that moment, or they might remember it. But this experience rattles them more. It makes them more vulnerable to question that something's gone wrong right now and I don't understand. I felt as if I'm going to die. It could be a serious heart-related problem or other physical problems. But then they, of course, go to a doctor and realize that their heart is just fine. They're as healthy as one can be at their age. So the possibility of panic disorder or panic attacks is going to come into picture. That panic attacks converts into a more lasting anxiety because you don't have answers to a problem. Answers that you're willing to accept. Answers which make more sense to your understanding. So people live with that anxiety and fear for a long time, that they can have a panic attack anytime. So gradually it converts into restricting your field of restricting your ability to go out in public places because you're uncomfortable there, and you don't want to feel uncomfortable because it resonates with the fear of having more panic attacks. Then that's how a problem converts into a different problem and then leads to a different problem. Long-lasting anxiety states, they make you vulnerable to have depression eventually.
Wow. I want to ask you a question about sort of panic attacks and anxiety. I've never really suffered from that. I've noticed like a panic attack, but I do have a little bit of anxiety right now that's going on because it's kind of I don't even know I know how to explain it, but I've got a new dog in my life, and I lost my other dog because of some dogs next door. And unfortunately, I witnessed the entire thing. It was very, very traumatic. For me, dogs are family. And so it was very traumatic to actually have been there when her life was taken from her. It was a very violent situation. I've never witnessed anything like that. You feel like in the moment, as it was happening, I literally felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I mean, I was just besides myself. On the one hand, I was trying to save her life. I was trying to get these dogs off. I was just like a total mess. And, now we're going into 3 years. I've finally been able to bring myself to, okay, let's get another family pet. But those dogs are still next door. And I find that even my daughter has kind of said to me, because sometimes I accidentally call this dog the old dog's name. I'm still trying to get used to all this, but um, I find like I don't want to walk down that side of the street. I am like hyper alert every single time. Even talking about this right now, I can feel like my heartbeat, has gone up a little bit. I don't want every time I go outside, I'm like looking around, like I'm just worried of a repeat incident. And I know that, I'm having to walk my dog. He is potty training. So this is like 6 times a day I'm taking this dog outside. And every time if I go out front and not in the backyard, I'm thinking about this incident. Like it's constantly in my mind. And I'm worried that they're gonna get out again. And I'm just like I feel like I'm having some sort of anxiety over the whole thing. In a situation like that where I know exactly, what's causing it, where it's coming from, short of going over there and murdering dogs, what can I do to kind of help with this situation? Is this something that I really need to come and see you as a professional about? I feel like I have a good grasp on what's causing it, but I can't really control the thoughts that are in my head as it relates to just a fear. It's like an overwhelming fear that this is going to happen again.
So acknowledging in that moment that you're experiencing something that's a response to what you endured for so long now. It's become a condition now that whenever you find yourself in the situation close to that side of the fence or when you're with your dogs, your brain just triggers that response. That's not feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Your anxiety is driven by that circumstance and situation, and it's just limited to that, I guess.
Yes.
So you need to draw that line that it's actually related to what you had experienced, and it's not unjustified to feel that way in that circumstance. But if this fear anxiety becomes so immobilizing that you stop walking your dog or stop training your dog or stop having dogs, then I would say that this is so pathological that it requires intervention.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It makes me emotional even now talking and thinking about it. So I haven't stopped walking the dog. I just do it. I know that I have to do it, but it is quite an emotional situation. And so Miss Sue here is dealing with a situation that I think a lot of us have experienced to some level. Her husband of some 50 years passed away recently, and she's having to deal with that. So she says, yes, I'm going through grief and it's so hard every day. I miss my hubby so much. I have to take every day as it comes, some bad and some better. Thank God for my daughters and grandchildren who keep me going, as life for me now is so lonely and sad without him. Everybody's so busy with their lives and they all forget. And I pray for God to give me strength to carry on every day. So when it comes to grief related, depression or just grief, just dealing with grief, which can cause things like anxiety and other mental health disorders as well. What's the best advice? Is it good to try to join like a support group? I don't even know if we have a grief support group here in Cayman, but are those things that people should be looking at doing?
Of course. I mean, enduring it all by yourself, unless it's a necessity, I wouldn't advise anybody to be closing themselves from social connections. It is always a good idea to identify and remember the loss. Try to have more positive memories about that person. People usually, in general, are kind. I hope and pray that she is also finding that kind of a support around her. But yes, grief, we need to understand that none of us is trained to entertain the possibilities of losing someone that we cared for, we loved. So we are trying to figure it out. And the process of figuring it out, first of all, the loss, and then how to be in this new reality, that's the process of grieving. So support definitely is required in that process. And yeah.
So when we talk about anxiety disorder, here you say that's very common and it affects an estimated 264 million persons around the world. That's quite something. Tell us, how do we know that it's anxiety disorder? What are some of the things that we're looking for?
So, to just further the conversation we were having about anxiety earlier, stress induced and otherwise, anxiety is a normal reaction to situations that we never anticipated, or if we anticipated, but it doesn't seem to be going that way. The anxiety is a normal reaction, but if it starts being so intrusive, the worries become so widespread and present all the time that you can't function. You are having thoughts about that one thing that's bothering you, even when you're working on something else. That interruption of our abilities, it becomes kind of a line that if it is being breached, it's a disorder. It's a disorder, and you need to do something about it. So, usually, anxiety disorders are characterized by intense, excessive, persistent worries and fears. And it is not something that's specifically for some people. There are different kind of anxiety disorders. Few of them are limited to specific situations. Some of them are limited to, in general, all the things around us. So accordingly, they're given the names. The diagnosis are given the names of generalized anxiety disorder, or specific phobias, or agoraphobias, or different kind of phobias. One of the most interesting anxiety disorder, it used to be classified as anxiety disorder earlier. Now it is a category of its own, but it's still, anxiety is the core of that disorder, which many of us under the surface continue to struggle with, is OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Uh, in general understanding, anybody who's too repetitive, anybody who's too strict about their things, we like to call them OCD, and it's okay. I mean, for vernacular, it's okay.
We overuse that term a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm happy and sad at the same time that it's used.
Yeah.
Because at least we are talking about something, and people's awareness is better with time. Maybe at least there's a possibility.
But we should be more conscious and aware of when the terminology is being used a little bit too casually, right? So just
Yes.
because you like things neat and orderly doesn't mean that you suffer from OCD.
That's true. That's true.
Right. So how do you know when it's turned into something a bit more than, oh, I'm just a very neat and orderly person? What sort of tips it on the other side where you might have a concern?
So there are certain guidelines. We work with guidelines from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM-5, based out of US. There are criteria to diagnose somebody with OCD. But for general understanding of such things, and that whether to call it a disorder at all or not, the criteria is still the same. That whatever symptom you're calling OCD, it should quantify into something that disrupts your functioning. Something that if it was not there, you would be much better. So, for example, people who indulge in too much cleaning and orderly things, arranging their things too neatly, and they spend a lot of time, which could be better utilized at other things, then it's something that calls for intervention.
So if it starts to interfere with your life, basically, then you might have a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we have Alejandro here. Weed is his solution to everything. So we want to get your take on it. He says, weed and caffeine helps me with anxiety and depression. I don't even think about anything that bothers me anymore. When I lost my mom, a little bit of alcohol got involved. I've diluted that to just having a beer a day. Wow. Maybe if a friend invites me for a drink or something. I think mental disorders, you need a friend or two that understands what's going on, that they become a serious moral support. I've got 4 friends, excluding family members, that reach out to me every day, and I'm thankful for them. So it's a couple things packed into this comment. Number one, marijuana and caffeine, he says, have resolved his anxiety issues and depression. What's the medical take on this?
So yes, that is still a bone of contention amongst many clinicians around the world. But in this part, we have a better acceptance of the fact that these chemicals that we find in cannabis have been helpful for many people. It's just that it's kind of a lock and key that not everyone who connects with cannabis gets the same results that some may get, which is true for many antidepressants too. So I would say that we are still in that stage of knowing what exactly is going to work for which person in what stage of the problem. Cannabis has traditionally had a medicinal value in different cultures also. So I'm not completely against it. I'm not completely in for it, if you're asking for my opinion.
Yes. And we saw just recently that there is a report that came out in the Journal of the American Medical Association, which actually saw that there's a link. Of course, that doesn't mean that there's a cause and effect, but there is a link between teens and young adults who use cannabis and actually have an increase, quite a notable increase in mental health issues. So this is quite interesting. We shared this and touched up on it on our show last week. But basically, the research has found that when it comes to teens who are casual users, their increase of things like depression and anxiety increases 2 to 3-fold. And for individuals who are considered chronic users and might actually have a problem, it's 4 times more likely that there's a connection between mental health issues and mental health disorders. So we can't say it's like the chicken versus the egg, maybe which is coming first, but mental health professionals are, based on this, are raising the alarm and are saying, we just need to pay attention to this, and parents need to be very aware and to keep a keen eye on the situation. The research was based on more than 68,000 teens who were involved in a survey. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
You have to comment on that research that you found out. I mean, I don't know about that research, how true of that is to everybody, but that's maybe just one individual they were testing it on. I've known a guy when he was like 13 years old. I was skateboarding with him in the skate park when it was open. He told me that he had depression and he had anxiety, and his parents put him on a medication at the hospital that the doctors gave him. Right? And he was always that type of person that was almost suicidal. When I said almost suicidal, he would sit on the edge of the ramp and just keep looking down for I don't know what reason. I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? I said, you're scared to go down? And he's like, no. And he start crying. He start talking about his problems, and he start doing this, doing that. And I was like, dude, just face your fears if it's something that you're scared of. I think that when it comes into certain anxieties, certain depression, is about people with fear. I understand a fear of something is what causes depression and anxiety. I don't know. I mean, that's only my thoughts of having it. The one thing that feared me the most was losing my mother. Yeah, I already lost her, so I faced that fear already a long time.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate those comments. So facing your fear, is it just as easy as that? I mean, I'm not really quite sure. I think for everybody, maybe that means something different. But how easy is it to, Alejandro also said, which had me a little bit worried, that he's relying on some substance to try to help him, whether it's the weed, the caffeine, or the alcohol. Those are, all things that can be addictive, but he says that he's relied on those and a few good friends to kind of help him get through it. Is that the formula for success in your mind if you're having anxiety and depression?
Well, for youngsters particularly, and maybe for many adults also, I feel that many times we're trying to cope with something that we don't understand, or if we understand it from the place of fear. So it makes sense to them that anything that helps them feel less fearful, they will hold on to it. The vulnerabilities that we are born with, they can't be changed. Whether we use cannabis or an antidepressant or the environment that we are born in, it can't be changed. But some certain chemicals have this propensity to affect certain people adversely. So this study that talked about making people more vulnerable to have mental health issues, I believe that people who are going for chronic use are probably trying to medicate themselves. and which calls for a better understanding of what they're trying to treat with cannabis or alcohol, or for that matter, any other substance that we call recreational, if for the lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being a recreational user, they turn into something like a medicine for them, and it just continues. And if there is a propensity, it just converts into a bigger mental problem.
Okay. And the idea that we should be I think sometimes it can be a little bit challenging for us if people are trying to self-diagnose, like they think they've got it figured out, or they, or self-medicating. What are the dangers in that aspect of it? Trying to be your own physician, basically.
For the colleagues of my fraternity who come from other branches of or specialties of medicine, I would say that's a grave danger if you're diagnosing yourself. It could be a fatal flaw in your understanding of your problem. But when it comes to my specialty, I would always encourage people to read about it and come to me if they have doubts about it. There is no harm in calling yourself anxious and depressed or just depressed, because it doesn't really convert into any change in intervention. Because anyone who's going to help you get better would understand how to open the layers of things. It doesn't really make too big of a difference unless someone diagnoses themselves as bipolar disorder and they don't have it, or schizophrenic and they don't have it. Until that time, I think that it's okay to really look for the boundaries of what you think you have.
Right. And of course, I mean, there's certain severe disorders like schizophrenic disorder or bipolar that you don't see it. Everybody else sees it. I mean, I've seen people even in our community here. And to me, I'm like, wow, this is a classic case of someone who's bipolar, because I've had experience with individuals close to me who were bipolar. And you see almost, for some people, it's almost like you can cut with a knife when they enter the manic stage, when they've come out of a years long depressive episode. And right away they're like, oh, I'm cured. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do this. I can fly. I can do. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And they themselves don't see it. They see it as, oh, I'm high functioning. All of a sudden I can accomplish everything that I've ever wanted to do. And a lot of people around them also just give them a pass as, oh, they're just a little bit weird.
Yeah, that's so true. The distinction that you have a severe problem is that when you don't have the insight about it. The traditional classification of mental illnesses used to be just simply calling people neurotics or psychotics, just on the basis of how much insight they have about their suffering.
Caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. I heard the caller use some terminology that I'd like to have your guest talk about. He said cure. And the thought that came to my mind is, regardless of which substance you're talking about, if you're using that thing and it results in a cure, then it would mean you don't need that thing anymore, whatever that thing is called. But if that thing is still needed, then is it a cure or is it a therapy?
Interesting. Doctor, what's the difference? I mean, are you ever cured from are there some mental health ailments or conditions that cannot be cured, can only be treated? And to Denny's point, based on what the last caller said, if it's a coping mechanism, so every day if you're still having to drink, if you're still having to smoke marijuana, and you're still having to drink caffeine or whatever, are you actually cured of whatever anxiety you may have, if there's such a thing as being cured of anxiety?
Yeah, so that's a limitation of language here. I think that cure as such is the right term for illnesses which come from different other kind of physical illnesses. For mental illnesses, the understanding is not so medical. It is more psychological and how we learn to react to situations. If for any reason our mind chooses to start understanding and consequently react to situations again the same way, there's nothing stopping it from doing it. So, cure is not the right term. I agree with the caller at this point, and the previous caller who was using this term. I certainly agree that cures are very hard for mental illnesses. But it doesn't mean that if you have a label associated with you, you can't get out of it.
Right.
Like the labels usually keep changing because labels are for the sake of our understanding of what's going on in someone else's head. So cure,
Um,
cure, curing a heart disease is very different from curing someone's depression.
yeah, absolutely. Alejandro also mentions that his mom had bipolar disease or disorder, so he's seen it firsthand. Should he be more concerned because he's had a parent that has had a mental health disorder such as bipolar? How does that impact his chances? And is it really something that he should be more concerned about? He might just be thinking, "Oh, I've only got anxiety," but is it possible that there could be other things going on there as well?
Yeah, so understanding of bipolar disorder does strongly stress upon this possibility that if there's somebody in close relatives, like first line blood relatives, parents, brothers, sisters, it increases your vulnerability. It doesn't cause it itself. Very early in the conversation, I was talking about predispositions. It's one of the predispositions that you have. If your life takes you in places and situations that put extra stress, that vulnerability is going to become wider and wider, eventually breaching the limits of normalcy for you. And the risk, it needs to be looked at it as such. You shouldn't live in the fear that you're going to have the same symptoms. More realistically, people who have a suffering family member from bipolar, they more necessarily go through anxiety and depression than having bipolar in their lifetime.
Okay, we do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. Sabrina Turner here. How are you?
Hey, good morning,
And to
Minister.
your
How are you?
guests, I am fine, thank you.
Good.
And I thought it was very important for me to call in and show my support, understanding that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. However, here in Cayman, we usually put a lot of focus in that at the end of the year. But more so in the US, it's looked at as for the month of May. But understanding the stigma that has come with mental health, and now the spotlight that has actually been shown on it since the pandemic, anytime is a great time to educate, inform, and to just make sure that people are aware that you shouldn't feel any less in reaching out for help, being able to identify, and just know what resources are out there for people to tap into is always a pleasure to be a part of these discussions.
Yes, well, thank you so much for that. Obviously, Minister Turner is Minister of Health and Wellness, and so this must be a very important topic under that umbrella for you as well. So we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to call into the program today.
Yes, it is a pleasure. When you look at even what we're doing here in the public health spotlight that should be out in the public's domain this month, you will notice in that, and this is found on all of our social media pages, we focus this edition of the public health spotlight predominantly on women's mental health and children's women's health. Why? Because we celebrated Mother's Day. And we know how that is tied in to everything with taking care of kids. And we look at all of the social pressures right now. People are just grappling with keeping everything together. So it was for that reason, that we focused this edition on women's mental health and children, because we all deal with these pressures and stresses differently. And for women, we're always known as being the strong one. We mask our feelings. We just have to be that nurturing provider, but there are times that we break as well. That shouldn't be looked upon as anything of being weak. There is no weak, there's no strong when it comes to dealing with the pressures that society puts on us, that your family puts on you. And we are human beings. And I think we are on, from the Ministry of Health, we want to get nationally that culture where we engage more with the HR departments in being able to identify these, because it does impair productivity in the workplace. So this is something that we have to deal with nationally in the Cayman Islands. And as the ministry gets together, secure the necessary resources, I'm hoping that nationally we can all jump on board and all of the services providers come together and we can fight this together as a unified country.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Minister. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, and I'll continue to listen.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the doctor does have a pressing schedule this morning, so we do have to let him go here. But we'll take one more call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. I was just listening to the minister, and I'm not sure exactly what she's referring to by, everyone coming together and working together. But I do hope that that means maybe laws are changed, that mental health days are given separate from sick days. Maybe that means that insurance providers it's mandatory to cover mental health therapy. I hope that some of those things come into play soon, because you could recognize that you have a problem all you want, but if you can't afford to see a therapist, you can't afford to see a therapist.
Yeah.
So I really hope that things change in terms of insurance and mental health days off of work. That would be great to see those put into law, and not just, because we can talk about it all we want, but if the average person can't afford therapy, then you just can't afford it,
Thank you. That's a great point. Thank you so much. All right. Absolutely. Some really salient points here this morning. Just take a few more comments. Jackie says, a question for the doctor: does Health City prescribe cannabis for patients? My impression is no. I have a serious surgery, but the pain medications did not help. They made me sick, nauseous, and couldn't help the pain. I checked into alternative source, which led me to prescribe cannabis that did help. It didn't help the pain as much as it calmed me down to tolerate the pain. Interesting. In the healthcare I was involved with, you can't judge someone's pain 100%. Here it seems they think you're an addict. Any questions or comments in relation to that?
Yeah, I think I can confirm that we are not prescribing cannabis as of now, because it requires to deal with certain other restrictions. But I do resonate with the sentiment there that it's very hard to identify pain, leave alone quantify it for someone else who's sitting outside your experience. So it is an error of judgment many times, based on so many other factors which influence that judgment.
Okay, final point from Soka today. Soka says, cure, question mark. It's all about treatments when you go to a doctor. Most pills in the market are meant to be taken for life. That's why only 2 factories produce antibiotics. Medical field not interested in a pill that gets you cured in 7 days. 2 factories produce antibiotics? That doesn't sound quite right at all. Yeah.
I don't think that's true, that only 2 factories are producing antibiotics, although I'm not the expert on antibiotics, but based on my experience in medical,
they're widely produced.
Yeah. And that's also not true that if she is trying to refer to antidepressants, that they're meant to be taken for lifetime. They are not supposed to be taken for a lifetime for most of the people. It's actually rare in my experience that somebody had to be on them for more than few years at the most.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, because again, Health City is here, not just telling you to go pop a pill. They're here to give you coping mechanisms and things that you can do. So here's again, and they provided this information, folks, some positive things you can do. So let's just run through this list because the doctor does have to go. We've got yoga, meditation, taking me time, journaling. Journaling's amazing. Listening to relaxing music, focusing on positivity, frequent exercise, eating a balanced diet, staying hydrated, going for a walk in nature, getting adequate sleep. Last week, of course, we were talking about the importance of sleep, setting healthy boundaries with those around you, speaking with someone you trust about the issues that you're dealing with, and seeking professional help. So undoubtedly, doctor, when you see patients, I'm sure your first thing isn't, oh, let me just write you a prescription. Tell us a little bit about, what it is that you do. And of course, Shamari can then tell us how people can reach out if they have any concerns about their mental health and wellness.
Well, I keep my prescription as far away from that first consult as possible. In fact, in last 1 month, I've turned away a few people who were seeking pills for some reason that they thought they need for. So usually the process is to understand the person as a whole when they come to me for the first time. It takes almost an hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes to settle down with the understanding I need to have before I can prescribe them a plan. Part of the plan could be the pills, it could be counseling and therapy, or it could be a combination of both.
Okay, very good. Shamari?
Yep. So just 640-4040 if anybody ever needs to reach out to speak to Dr. DeWalker, or you can contact us at info@healthcity.ky. And prior to us leaving, just also wanted to mention, Sandy, last week on our first day of radiotherapy, we would have treated 5 patients. And on the second day, we would have treated another 6 patients. So these are all individuals with their families that otherwise would have to travel overseas for weeks or months at a time to be able to get the cancer care needed. And now with our own radiotherapy center right here in the Cayman Islands, they no longer need to travel and incur all of those costs. They can do it right here. And yes, you still need to do your tour. So we'll set that up to make sure that you can see it from top to bottom so that people can understand this last major gap, one of the last major gaps that we're filling here in the Cayman Islands as well.
All right. So Alejandro has a question he needs some clarity on. He's saying, how can antidepressants be described lifetime when it's taken the rest of your life? So you're saying that the idea is not for it to be taken the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's what I meant, that it is not supposed to be. The plan is not to continue it for the rest of your life. You of course, coming at a point in time when you're in a crisis, and the point of medications is to tide over the crisis and give you some stability for the foreseeable future. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about most of the neurotic conditions. There are certain exceptions to what I'm saying, and certain mental illnesses that need to be kept in mind if that consideration of lifetime is being given. Like bipolar disorder would require lifetime management. Schizophrenics might require it for a long time, not lifetime. Still, the recommendations are not lifetime. People with OCD do require it for a long time, but these are very few people of the total population that need to seek help.
All right, can we sneak in a few more questions, Doc? I know you got to go, but we've got some burning questions. Let me make these very quick. This person says, waking up 3 to 4 a.m. with stressful thoughts sets me up for a day of butterflies in my belly, and how to get relief from this. What about the cause and positive or negative effects of vitamins or minerals, taking extra B vitamins for the nervous anxiety? So are vitamins useful in any way? And if someone's waking up every night with stressful thoughts, that then is setting them up for, again, interrupting their life, is that someone who definitely needs to come in and maybe have a discussion about what's going on?
Yeah, I think I can speak loudly for vitamin question, that studies do not suggest that they are going to cure your mental illnesses. If you're deficient on them, they might help you to be in a better physical health, and thereby as a function of being in a better physical health, you might be feeling better. But it doesn't cure the mental, it doesn't make you feel better from the mental health perspective if you're not deficient on it.
Okay. And let's go ahead and give you some compliments today, Doctor. This person says, great show. I didn't know that we had Deepak Chopra working at Health City. He is knowledgeable with a soothing voice. Another person says, this doctor has exceptional command of the English language and very current with Western world terminology. So I think your voice people are finding to be very smoothing. Maybe that's why you chose the mental health area as your professional. I don't know which came first. Did you get the soothing voice first, or did that come as a byproduct of your training?
Well, first of all, thank you for those lovely comments. I don't know whether the egg came before the chicken or
It's the age-old question that I think we'll never really be able to answer. But as we wrap up here, Shamari, some final thoughts?
No. I just also wanted to thank the Honorable Minister for calling in and offering her thoughts as well. That was very well placed. And we know that wellness is always key to, all of her discussions and her focus, but not only physical health, right? So for her to call in and to express the fact that she's fully behind mental health. I heard the other caller come in, which is good. So the other caller called in and gave some specific points as to how they see a government being able to impact and help from a mental health perspective. So,
Yes.
and I know the minister is listening, so that's great. And that's why we love having this program, so that we can have this type of discourse to make sure that we as the Cayman Islands, raise all boats in order to make sure that we're as healthy as possible, both physically and mentally. Yes.
Thank you so much. So thank you guys again for tuning into the program today. Hopefully this discussion was useful. Mental Health Awareness Month. You can contact Health City if you're struggling and perhaps you need to see what options are available to you, someone to talk to who might know more information about, counseling groups that are available, counseling sessions that you can sign up for. There's lots of ways that you can cope with mental health episodes outside of medication, because I know a lot of people are adverse to medication, but the doctors have the experience and they will be able to, through their expert, sort of diagnosis, they'll be able to tell you what they recommend and what could potentially be of help and of use to you. So again, thank you very, very much, Dr. Dewakar. I still feel like I'm doing it. Sharma. Joining us, and of course, Shamari Scott, who is here all the time with us here on Health City as the Chief Business Officer. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right. Have a fantastic day. Well, folks, let's go ahead and take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back and change gears just a little bit. Good morning to Miss Dorothy. Soka says vitamins for mental health. That's a new one. Well, it's why we have the experts on here, because they can certainly address, I feel like, all of these things. There's a lot of things that are floating around, misinformation, half truths. So it's good to have the experts on the program who can get all that sorted out for us.
Are you tired of overpaying for TV services? Can't figure out VPNs? Constantly missing your favorite TV shows? And no access to the good stuff on streaming services? The frustration is real, but it doesn't have to be. Contact Roque, Cayman Streaming Pros. We'll put you back in the driver's seat in front of your TV. Call, WhatsApp, or message Roque today on 926-1213. Roque is not a TV service provider. Terms and conditions apply.
The Cold Hard Truth is Cayman's #1 talk show since it debuted in March 2020. According to independent research, we are the most listened to talk show in 2021, and most people prefer us to any other options on island. We tackle tough issues some days, and other times have fun and lighthearted discussions. But most importantly, the Cold Hard Truth is here for you. Thank you for your support as we continue to be the voice of the people in 2022 and beyond.
Folks, welcome back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really, really helpful segment. Recently I had someone say to me, and I want to make sure that, when we're talking about mental health issues, sometimes we're not always politically correct. I'm guilty of this myself, without a doubt. And I had someone recently, I won't identify him, but he's been in the program. And you guys have heard me say that I am not a professional clinician, so I'm not diagnosing anyone, but the behavior that I see from this individual is indicative of someone who's bipolar. No two ways about it. I feel confident that if he went to a professional, that they would diagnose him with such. And, at one point he was saying to me, oh, you've called me bipolar on your program. And I said, but have you ever thought about going and getting a professional assessment to see whether you are or not? That's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it in terms of my opinion. He said towards the end that maybe I had a point, and that he was going to go and speak to a medical health professional to see if he could get a proper diagnosis. But one of the things I found interesting about what he said to me, and I had to really sort of correct him from my perspective, He says, well, I'm normal. And I said, what does that have to do with being bipolar? Right. So I don't want people to think because you suffer from mental health problem, whether it's depression, bipolarism, even schizophrenia, whatever, that you're not normal. Right. Because some people in their head think that that's some sort of a horrible indictment on who they are. Oh, people are going to think I'm not normal. People are going to think I'm crazy. Maybe people might think those things. People are going to think those things, quite frankly, anyway, if you're exhibiting certain types of behavior. But it's only going to get worse if you're not getting the professional help that you need, right? Having depression, that is, a medical condition, as far as I'm concerned. Being bipolar, that's a medical condition. We can see that there's different potential triggers and causes of it. And so I think the key really is for you to get a proper diagnosis from a professional and to seek and get the help that you need. Yes, we live in a small community. And I suppose I've always said this, even in terms of our school system, their school system really isn't equipped to deal with, for the most part, anyone who falls outside of this range of normal. And when I say this range of normal, I mean even brilliant kids who are just really, really academically smart. They excel. The system isn't equipped to deal with those people either, as well as the children who need additional care and attention because they might have a learning disability, right? So the system is really designed and built towards sort of that medium individual, the middle of the road person. And if you fall on either side of that, you're going to have struggles, especially if you don't have parents who recognize and understand where you fall on the spectrum and are able to get you the help that you need. My first exposure to someone who was bipolar was in university. And I had an opportunity to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with this individual. I worked with him at the school newspaper at the time. And the first time I kind of noticed him, though, we were walking on a track. I was walking, he was running at ridiculous speed. And I got him to slow down enough to kind of have a conversation. I was like, hey, I know you. You work he was on the production side. This is back in the day in news when you had people in the newsroom who had to cut, like literally cut and put the paper together. Technology wasn't what it is today. And so he was like on the production side of laying it out graphically, like how the layout was. And he worked there and he was a student at the university just like me. And I was like, whoa, 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 the mile a minute talking fast and running around in circles. And I was like, okay, you got to slow down so I can have a conversation with you. And I remember that, as I got to talk to him a little bit more, he was very open about his mental health struggles. And, he shared with me what it's like a little bit to be in a manic phase and how, believe it or not, the time that he was most dangerous to himself wasn't in a depressive stage, which I thought was so interesting because all of us automatically assume, oh, somebody's depressed, they're more likely to be suicidal, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, for him, his most dangerous time was in a manic phase because when he was in a manic phase, he felt like he was Superman and he felt like he could do anything. And so jumping off a building was not outside of the realm of possibilities in terms of, what he could do. And I was like, oh, okay. To me, that was like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, I feel like a superhero and I could just jump out this building right now. And the manic phase doesn't make him think if you jump out of a building, you're going to land on concrete and die. His manic stage is like, no, I can do anything. I'm going to fly. And I was like, whoa, 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 but it was an eye opener as a young adult. Like I said, that was my first experience dealing with someone who's bipolar and talking to an individual who, thankfully for me, was very, very open about his mental health struggles. He actually, on occasions, had to be institutionalized. That's how extreme his episodes were. And so the time that I saw him running around the track, I hadn't seen him at work, and he had just come out of being institutionalized for a number of weeks. I don't know whatever happened to that kid. I can't remember his name, to be honest. We move on in life. And so I just remember it being such an educational period for me. Listen, for me, university was more about the education and exposure I got to different people, different cultures, that was just as valuable or even more valuable than the piece of paper I was there to get. I don't know if you guys understand that, but it was a period of awakening for me. And I think too, because I kind of lived in a very controlled environment. My aunt was so strict, right? And I wasn't really exposed to a whole lot. University life for me was like, whoa. I mean, I just got to see a lot of people, experience a lot of different cultures, and I just took it all in from the perspective of this is an amazing learning experience. Like this is worth all the money I'm going to spend on this degree and the long nights up studying and the stress. This is going to be like life-changing forever. And so even now we are here, you know, oh my God, is it like 20 years later since university, whatever it is? Oh, getting old, folks. You know, I reflect on those moments and I think about how they have really impacted my life and how it shaped my life, right? And that's why it's so important. We talked about before, letting your children go out there and experience new things. Make them have friends that are Muslim. Make them have friends that are, you know, atheists from different religions or no religions, or, you know, expose your children to different people at the appropriate times in their lives, different cultures, how people eat differently, how they, you know, it's just, I mean, you know, you can't go wrong. And it doesn't change who you are, I don't think fundamentally, like you still are who you are. But I think that it can, I suppose, have, you know, sort of life-changing, you evolve, right? You don't stay who you are forever in any event. I hope not, because that's probably not a good thing. But you really evolve. And I think that there is something to be said for that. So I reflect on my first degree in my university days, living on campus and, you know, having these experiences as just an amazing transition into adulthood. You know, I was ready for it. I was ripe for it. And it was just amazing. So send your kids off to university, send them far away, you know, because Cayman is just, and I didn't even grow up in Cayman. So I think I still had more exposure than a lot of kids here would be having, but Cayman can be a very small place. And yes, it's a little piece of paradise in a way, but to even appreciate what you have here, you need to go and spread your wings and go far and experience things. I still haven't gone far enough. Like I need to see the world and do so much more than I've done. And you know what? Still kicking. Life is short, and I fully intend to continue to take as much advantage of it as possible. So this person says, morning, Sandy. Digicel has me depressed. My Lord. It's a shame that I have to reach out to you on this. I traveled with my sister-in-law to bury her sister and requested a 7-day roaming plan. Well, they applied 2 7-day plans, and I've been calling and emailing them ever since and can't get this resolved. I would really appreciate your assistance on this. Okay. Send me the account name and number, and I will have it sorted out. Okay, not a problem. Wow. I wasn't expecting that comment, but there you go. You never know what you're gonna get. All sorts of questions. Some are easier to resolve than others. This one seems to me like this is very, very easy to resolve. I will help you with that. Not a problem. Wishing you a splendid day ahead. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. He sent an article about how social media is driving teen mental health crises. And this is according to a warning from the Surgeon General of the United States of America. And we've talked about this before. So I'm going to share the link with everyone. This was from May the 23rd, which is today. Look at that. So yeah, this is very, very concerning. Suicide rates are up amongst our teens and young people, and you know, other things as well. So please make sure that you're prioritizing the health and wellness of your children. Children don't have the experience that we have. They don't have the coping mechanisms that we have. And even those of us who think we have coping mechanism, let's be honest, sometimes we need a professional to talk to as well. Good morning to Johan. He says, try to get a group therapy session for you plus CMR diehards. We obviously need professional help. He's laughing at that. That's no joke. We all need professional help at some point in our lives, I feel like, and there's no shame in it. Folks, if you need to see a therapist, go see a therapist. It's not a problem. you know, get the help that you need. Sometimes friends can be therapeutic, but sometimes your friends are worse than you, honey chia. They're not really the ones to give you good advice in life, much less therapy. Let me see. This person says you can buy bear spray in the US and that will stop the dogs. Yes, thank you for that suggestion. You know, I've thought about, of course, a million times in my head how I could have prevented what happened. And really, there's nothing that I could do. The owners of the dogs need to prevent what happened, and they didn't. And so I've thought about, if, you know, what else can I do? Do I walk with a stick with something sharp on the end? The problem with it is when you have, especially a much bigger dog that has grabbed a smaller dog, anything you do to that bigger dog, if you spray them, you're likely to spray your own dog in the face. I mean, I'm not so sure that there's probably much that you can do that is really going to not impact both dogs. So I have thought about this long and hard. So thank you for the suggestion. I'm still thinking of possibilities. I really just wish that this woman who has no control over her dog, she can't handle them, would rehome them and move them out of the neighborhood. Because now, since then, we have quite a few smaller dogs that are owned in the neighborhood that are being walked every day, not just my dog. And so I really feel that she should do the right thing by her neighbors. But, you know, people are so incredibly selfish when it comes to stuff like this. But the thing that I do know, and I really pray to God that it does not come to this, is that if we have a repeat, her dogs are dead. There's absolutely no way that this is going to happen again. And I don't mean just for my dog. I've got Miss Carla and her little dog, Zoomer, I think is his name. We've got some other little Pomeranians up the street. I'm telling you, if it happens again, and I don't care what police are listening to the show this morning, her dogs are going to be dead. That's it. You know, we have a right and an obligation to be able to protect our families, and dogs are an extension of your family. And so I cannot say this strong enough. I really exercised a lot of trying to do the right thing. In the first instance, tried to get, you know, the Department of Agriculture, the animal welfare, the police to do the right thing, hoping they would have removed these dogs and put them down, and they didn't do it. But I'm telling you, if it happens again, and I don't care if my neighbors listen to the program, I will kill your dogs. End of story. That's it. Yeah. In the name of protecting every other dog in the neighborhood, your dogs are going to be dead. They bit a woman, a young girl, and she had to go to the emergency room and get treatment and get a tetanus shot. They attacked a much larger dog. Thankfully, people were able to pull the dogs off of that one, right? These dogs are dangerous. They should not be in a neighborhood, and especially not in a household and in a yard with someone who cannot control them. There is no controlling them. Nobody can control these dogs. Multiple people out there trying to pull these dogs off, kicking these dogs. And when you saw what I saw, how they dragged my poor Coco into their yard to try to finish her off, you have to know what it took for me to not have killed those dogs already. Yeah. I have thought about it a million times over in my mind, how easy it would be to poison those dogs. And I don't do it because I try my best to be a law-abiding citizen. But I'm telling you, there's no question in my mind that if they harm another dog in this neighborhood, I will kill the dogs. And that's it. That's the end of the story. You know, I think that at some point, everybody runs out of patience. This has caused me, you know, so much stress and anxiety that these dogs remain over there. And every time that even my daughter goes outside and I hear them barking at her, I'm like, what's to stop them from turning on an individual? And for, you know, my dog saw it that night. She, for months, talked about the death and loss of our Coco and how she was to blame for this. Do you know the trauma that puts me under as a parent? To hear my child blame herself for something she had no control over, for something I had no control over, right? She was 4 years old at the time. And she's like, oh, it's my fault. And she's going out telling everybody that would listen to her, my dog died. And they're like, really? Months afterwards. Obviously, it was a traumatic event for her. So I don't want anybody, listen, police don't even call me when I have to kill these dogs, okay? Don't even call my number. I'm going to say y'all should have done your job the first time that those murderous dogs acted and ran rampant in an entire neighborhood that night, terrorizing everybody, and nothing was done. This is when the system fails you, how you really, I could only imagine families out there and parents who've been victims of crime, who've lost loved ones, and the police can't do their job and they can't bring people to justice. I can completely understand why you'd want to go out there and be a murderer yourself. I mean, I say don't do it because we try to be law-abiding citizens, yeah? But in this case, telling you straight up, it's not gonna happen. I can't say it's not gonna happen again because unfortunately they're still over there. Right? I do everything in my power. I look out. I'm such like a nervous wreck on high alert. I'm out there looking both directions when I come out. Sometimes I pick up Zeus before I even put him down, make sure they're not outside, checking the cameras. Like every time the cameras go off at night, because the night that it happened, they were actually out circling our yard, went and beat up the dog up the street. They were out there. And I always think that had I looked at the cameras and saw that they were out there, maybe I could have taken some preventative steps and been more cautious. But every time the camera dings, like sometimes it's a cat, it's a bird, and you're not looking at every single instance, right? Now I'm hyper, like, oh, why is my camera going off at night? Well, we have cats that visit us every night now in the front. I don't want anything to happen. Those are neighborhood cats. I don't want them to be killed by these dogs either. So, I'm going to just leave this topic because the more I think about it, the more upset I get. And, those dogs are going to be marked if they hurt another animal in this neighborhood. End of story. I'm making my confession before I even do it. And you know what? It's not going to be a crime because you have a right to defend your property and a right to defend your family. And I'm going to exercise that right to an extreme extent the next time. Good morning, DJ Yo-Yo. He says, hi, Sandy. Blessed morning to you in the audience. Going back to the mental issue topic, in my opinion, if you're aware and recognize that you have a mental issue or breakdown, knowing that you might not possess the financial resources, you should be capable enough to do your homework and do your research. There's a lot of information available. And instead of wasting valuable time looking at not so relevant or constructive or helpful things on social media, people with types of issues should be, and unfortunately, it got cut off. Sue says, I fully understand how you're feeling about those dogs next door to you. I would be the same way, Sandy. When I had my Yorkie, they should have been put to sleep and they bit a young girl too. Yeah. She had to go to the hospital. Melanie says, can we not talk about poisoning dogs? Maybe there are people on this forum that might happily do it and say that Sandy advocated it. I didn't say I was going to poison him. I just said I was going to kill him. I didn't say how it was going to be done. In a moment of self-defense, if I have to get the machete that I use to cut bush, it doesn't matter how it's going to happen, Melody. And I know you understand how much I love dogs and how much it would pain me under any circumstances to hurt a dog. This is why we need to have legislation in this country. Any dog that bites a person or another animal without any degree of justification whatsoever should be put down. You know what the neighbor's supposed defense was to the police? Well, your dog was in the public road. She actually wasn't, first of all. But even if she was, so was your dog. What's your point? That gave your dog a right to kill, to attack and viciously kill my dog? If you guys heard how Coco was screaming for her life, I'm sorry, don't tell me anything that I should not feel a particular way and that I'm not going to kill those dogs if this happens again. Yes, I will. No, unless you've been in that situation, you have no clue how it feels. Sue says it's not right for you to be going through this anxiety and stress. Alejandro says you're not alone, Sandy. Paranoid is a part of trauma. Oh, yes, I'm traumatized. There's no two ways about it. But I'm going to be dealing with my trauma in a very different way going forward. Jackie says it's a shame that there's not a one-time rule and then government steps in. This is my thing. The legislation should be there, right? I shouldn't have to be even talking about this situation 3 years later. Those dogs get to live out, the rest of their lives with no consequences. And my Coco is dead. You understand? I got a problem. Speaking of animal welfare workers, I understand the difficult job that they have to do. They're constantly getting threats from people. So they're out there trying to look out for animals from you bad owners, because a lot of you are just horrendous owners. We had some puppies the other day that we posted up on our platform saying, hey, these puppies were found near the main road in North Side, and they were literally about to get hit by a car. Somebody came forward and said, oh yeah, those are my dogs. And so I put them in contact with the person who had the dogs. Turns out that they didn't even want the puppies. People, let me be very clear with you all. Some of you are the most irresponsible people in the world. You shouldn't have children. You shouldn't have dogs. You shouldn't even have the rats that are in the bushes. Tell me you want to feed chickens. You're not even responsible enough to feed chickens either. So don't get an animal. Don't get a bird. Don't get anything if you're not willing to take care of it. And taking care of it is more than just having it outside in your yard, exposed to the elements and eating whatever. You have got to be a decent and responsible pet owner. I hear of people feeding dogs, puppies, those same puppies, hot food. Yeah? Just throw down chicken bones and rice and whatever. And the puppies are trying to eat it because they're hungry and they're burning their mouth. You y'all stupid or what? I'm sorry. I'm not going to be politically correct when it comes to animal abuse, because a lot of it happens in this country. It is irresponsible of you to own dogs that you can't handle and then become a menace and attack other people. That's irresponsible too. Right? Come on now. This is the horrendous stuff that people are engaging in. And it shouldn't happen. Animal welfare officers should not be out there fearful of their lives from both you and your dogs. But the worst part is it's the human beings who are out there threatening the animal welfare officers. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. That's one thing about that many things about your show that I like. Now, I do like Radio Cayman because it's the opposite, and they can't say a lot of things that should be said because that's government. And that's the failure there, because not because I like Radio Cayman, not because I like Dwayne, but I do like your show because it's the opposite. I like when you bring on the doctors from Health City, because I'm a patient of Health City. I had 2 operations there. I was well treated, and I'm glad that you bring them on Tuesdays. I'm glad that we have such a place as Health City, not putting down HSA, because when my mother was alive, I had to take her to HSA as well, and she was well treated, I must say. But Sandy, I can't remember which dogs that are not legal to be in this island.
There's a whole list of them.
Yeah, yes, and some people down here, and some little young, what we call young fox, is raising pit bulls, and then they sell them. And those things, I don't know, they're even ugly to look at. I've enjoyed what dogs we always have, and that is German Shepherds. We got one now that is a half breed. We had to put down 2 or 3 of our German Shepherds because they end up with back trouble. But like you said before, if people are not responsible enough to take care of the animals. Tie them up under the tree. Their water bowls are turning green in the bottom, and all of that kind of stuff. That would show each and every one of us that got 2 grains of sense that they're not even responsible for their children, much less and themselves, much less the animals. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Why we love German Shepherds? Because they are trainable. They are very protective, especially around small children. Please, like Sandy said, please listen to her. Do not get animals if you are not responsible enough to feed these animals and treat these animals like the way they should be treated, because they are, once you get them, even the little birdies, they are a part of your family. That's why you get them, not because you have a child and say, oh, cutie, 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 and they walk around with this dog up in their arms for a couple of weeks. As soon as the dog needs a bath, no, he's your dog. No, he's your dog. No, he's your dog. And it goes on and on and on. It's a pity. It's really a pity to know that this little small island, and talk about animal control, make I tell you, sometimes, not all of them, they get the dogs, they put it in the back, they sit down there, eat their lunch, they're enjoying their lunch in air condition, just like some of our police. Now, folks out there, remember I'm saying some of our police. You can holler, you're in distress. You're walking your dog or whatever or with company or whatever, and you're in distress. You know what? They can't hear you because what we're paying for, the new cars, the this and the that, is the windows are screwed up tight in enjoying air condition. Remember who's paying who. So I like this government, but they need to get a stronger fist on laws and enforce the laws regardless of who and what, mama, papa, grandfather, granduncle, whoever it is. Get a fist down on what's going on here. We are too small to be hearing all of these things that is stressing people out like me and maybe you to hear what these poor animals are going through just because of some worthless people. Sandy, I like your show.
Thank you, ma'am.
I like Radio Cayman show because it's two different opposite things altogether. And I wish for you and your family good health, and I wish you a good day. Good work, Sandy.
I appreciate
Keep it up.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. 936-2626 is a telephone number. Without a doubt, there's legislation, and I understand that the government can't do everything overnight. Even in the 4 years that they have, there's a lot of really massive and big issues that they need to tackle. In my mind, some issues are easier to fix. This animal welfare and control, in my humble opinion, is one of those that's actually really, really easy to fix. I mean, this isn't complicated. This isn't public transport. You know what I'm saying? This can be fixed. We need legislation. We need proper enforcement. Right now, they only have one animal welfare officer. They had two. They can't keep anybody. You know why? Because when these guys are out there trying to do their job, they're being threatened by not so good citizens. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We told you guys about one dog down Palmdale that attacked the groomer. He attacked somebody in the home. He's attacked multiple people, not even other dogs, but people. And the owners there still did not want to report it. They did not want to give the dog up. You want to know why? Because the son is running drugs. Pay attention, police. Y'all need to pay attention now. Go down Palmdale and do some raiding. The son is running drugs, and the dog serves as a barrier between him and the authorities raiding him. The police know it. They know that a lot of these guys are walking around purposely raising aggressive dogs so that when they come to raid them for guns and drugs and all this stuff, the dogs at least will buy them some time. The police going to start shooting your dogs is exactly what's going to happen. And the poor dogs are the ones who are suffering as a result of it. We have a ban, that caller mentioned that we have a ban on certain breeds here in this country. They're identified as dangerous dogs. One of the breeds that we have a ban on is pit bulls, but yet look at how many pit bulls exist. You know why? Because despite there being a ban, at some point they came into this country, I guess the ban came afterwards, and people are breeding them, inbreeding them, which is a very dangerous habit because that makes a dog really intellectually horrible, right? And you don't want a stupid dog plus aggression built into one. They're not training the dogs. I'm not saying, because I know y'all pit bull lovers be like, oh, but Sandy, I love my pit bull. If they are a prohibited breed, why are we allowing people here to continually breed and sell them? You know what the tough thing that nobody wants to do in relation to that? All pit bull and pit bull mixes, because none of them are probably even full pit bulls at this point, they all need to be fixed. I'm not saying we're going to put down all pit bulls. Some of them are the most loving dogs in the world. But you fix all of your dogs. That's what needs to happen. Instead, people have been breeding and using dogs as a quick way to make money. There's some dogs in this country that are going for $5,000-$6,000 for a puppy. Y'all can't even pay your CUC bills, but going out there trying to get $5,000-$6,000 for a dog. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
They got a ban on Malinois too. That's another dangerous dog, not only pit bull. I agree. Pit bull is.
Yeah, they have a whole list of them.
Malinois, and I don't know about Doberman, because the Doberman bite up my sister-in-law daughter lip too. They had to put him down, so I don't know. She got a scar on her lip.
My God.
I'll never forget that. He run in. My grandmother had a table set for supper, and we were pling, pling, pling. Cutlery going on, and then we see all the steaks and all the beans and all the rice and everything. Good thing she had a little extra cook.
Oh my God.
I'll never forget. He was slopping up everything. I'll never forget that day. No, so I said, Graham, the Doberman get in and he rid the table, all the plates and everything will break up on the floor. I see mess. Yes, ma'am. Some of them dogs are dangerous. Afraid of pit bull too. Yeah, because when they grab you, they do let it go. They lock you.
Well, I mean, this is it, right?
They don't care whatever they bring out. I terrorize with dogs because dog bite me and give me, he had rabies and I almost died. They had to take out my blood. They had to give me blood transfusion. So I afraid of dogs. I don't like them. No kind.
I mean, listen, any dog has the potential to bite. They got teeth. That's why when people walk up to my little sweet dogs, they'll be like, oh, your dog bite. And I said, well, do they have teeth?
And a dog can tell when you're afraid of them. Because let me give you the story. My mother had sent me, people used to come indoors with bread kind, and you had to beat it just as the man dog to get anything. And this dog was on the bridge eating this bone. And I was afraid to cross him. But I went side knock, like slipping, watching him, and he jumped and grabbed me, and he bit the piece out by my back of my leg, and that was hanging, the fat was hanging out. They stitched it up. Next day they had to take me to the coast because they said the dog had rabies and they had to give me blood transfusion. And from then I was been about 14 or so, and I afraid of a dog. I'm almost 70 now, and I afraid of dogs. I don't like dogs. And I'll say what my grandbaby used to say. She told me, Mommy, I got 8-year-old grandbaby, and she said, Grandma, I like the meows, which is the cats, but I don't like the woofs. That's the dogs. Because a dog had barked at her too and fighting her, and she said she don't like the woofs, and she only 8 now. She was 8 the first of this month, 1st of May.
Oh my gosh, so sad.
And she said she like the meows, but she don't. That before she could have talked, but she like a parakeet now.
Thank you, my dear. So I've gotten confirmation that Malinois are actually not a banned breed. They were moved off the list. So, but I think the list might be available on the Department of Agriculture's website. You can certainly have a look. There is a prohibited dog registration guidelines. But listen, I love dogs. I love animals, generally speaking. I don't really want to be a cat owner, but it looks like 2 of them have adopted us as outdoor cats. At least at night they come around. There is a list here of all of the prohibited dogs breeds. I can show you guys this. But, at the end of the day, folks, I want to be very, very clear about something. I think this might be an outdated list, though, because this still has Malinois listed on it. So hold on. Let me see where this is coming from. This is still the prohibited dogs regulations that's on the website for government, unless they have outdated information, which is not, it's not unheard of. Trust me. Let me see if DOA has more updated information. They still have Malinois listed. So if they've been removed, somebody needs to update the list, because I'm looking at the list here and they're still listed. But the point is, I don't want this to become a conversation about us hating on dogs. What I want to say is we need to hate on irresponsible dog owners. There are certain breeds that are more dangerous than others. Yes, a little Chihuahua can bite you. Is a little Chihuahua going to be capable of killing you? I don't think so, right? They don't have the physical capacity to do so. But you take other breeds, all these Mastiffs dogs, Cane Corso, they have the physical strength. They have the locked jaw. When that jaw locks on you, you're not getting it open.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I have seen it even with, and this one isn't even a prohibited dog, even with that little dog there, I think they're the English Bull Terriers. They're the ones from the Target commercial with the little dot around their eyes, right? They have a reputation for being extremely antisocial towards other animals. And that dog, we had an episode where he tried to attack Coco as well. And my poor husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, but that day he was my hero child. I'm like, oh God, I got to marry him. He did everything he could to give Coco a fighting chance. And poor her, when she finally got loose, she ran outside and hid underneath the bed. That was another visit to the vet, right? Punctures in her. And I mean, he took off his belt and he was hitting this dog in the head, and the dog was not letting go. That's what these dogs do. And the owners in their house sitting down sleeping with not a care in the world. And once again, we have no legislation that says if your dog attacks another dog or a person, another animal or a person, they must be put down. That should be a requirement. Simple. Caller, good morning.
I don't normally call twice, but I know Malinois, like I say, if they take it off, they changes things wrong, like how they change their pants, but I know definitely, because I don't talk things that I don't know, and if you hear me say something, it is concrete. And they put down the Doberman that bit my sister-in-law daughter, and yes, I can tell you, the Chihuahuas will not kill you, but they are face-still dogs, and you can't frighten them off, because 2 kept me up in a Neeseberry tree for a whole day. And I felt them with the young Neeseberries, and they would not move. So they are feisty. They're the little Taco Bell. I even had the little ones that talk, that say, I'm hungry, getting hungry, quiero Taco Bell, and stuff like that. So they are feisty too, but they will bite, and you can't, like you say, you can't back them down too easy either. So I know that, because I experienced it. So when you hear me talk, I know what I'm saying. And Malinois was banned, I can tell you. But if they change it, like I say, they changes things wrong, like how they change their pants, and not for the better, for the worse. Or the worser, as one old lady used to say. So anyway, it's what it is. All right.
Thanks, honey. I appreciate it. This person also says that Rottweilers have been removed from the list. So there's supposed to be a revised prohibited breed law. I don't think it's coming up on the website because, this still has those dogs listed. Well, it has Malinois in any event. So poor Evelyn says, I stopped walking because of strays. They rush me in the mornings. Here's the thing. We've been talking about this for years. You guys remember when several governors ago, not Governor Roper, but the first female governor, I think it was, she was walking on the beach and a bunch of stray dogs rushed her to attack her. Listen carefully. They did not harm her, right? They didn't get the opportunity, not that they probably wouldn't have. But guess what happened to those dogs? They were collected and they were put down. So I ask you this very salient question this morning. You rush the governor, and these are stray dogs. Y'all not taking care of dogs, they're stray dogs. They get put down for rushing the governor. How can another dog, where's the equality in law? How can another dog attack, kill, and injure people and they don't get put down? This is the lack of equality in the application of the law. What made them round up those stray dogs and put them down? Oh, because you couldn't immediately identify who the owner was? Well, they didn't bite the governor yet, but they still lost their lives. If we're going to have rules in place, let's try to have them equally apply to everyone, every situation that meets the criteria. DJ Yo-Yo says, any dog that harms any member of my family, I will kill that dog. No middle point there. Facts. Knock on wood that it doesn't happen. It's like we all have to knock on wood and say a prayer and spray some sage and all this other stuff because, I feel like the system just isn't there to help us. The animal welfare officers are doing what they can do. And sadly, even their hands are tied because they don't make the ultimate decisions. You know what they say? Oh, make it happen to the right person, and then we'll finally get some legislative change. Well, who is the right person? The governor? When it happened to her? But the legislative change didn't come. No meaningful change came of that situation. Just that those specific dogs were addressed, and that's it. They were roaming public beach and God knows where else. We need to shape up here, folks. Fix the animal law. Stop all of this backyard breeding foolishness, right? If you want to be a breeder, go and get registered. All of you by law are supposed to be registering your dog. It's a requirement. I haven't registered Zeus yet. I got to go get him registered. He's got to get microchipped, right? All of these things have to be done. You have to know what your obligations are legally and morally if you want to own a dog. You should be training your dog. Your dog should not be a menace to people. Come on now, take some responsibility. Who in their right mind feeds puppies hot human food? The person told me the puppies were crying out, yelping, and still eating it because they were so hungry. And yet the food was burning them when the person said, sir, this is not what you feed dogs. But how I feed my dogs, Ignorance is going to be the destruction of this island and this community. Why do you even have a dog? This is a question I ask people a lot. Why do you have a dog? You're trying to fulfill some need that you think you have? Because clearly it's not because you're trying to give some of these poor animals a good home, because y'all are treating them worse than anything I've ever seen. Did y'all see the Humane Society post up pictures? I hope y'all not eating this morning, because trust me, this is the kind of thing that would make you put down your food. Of some dogs that have mange so bad. Oh my God. Did y'all see this Humane Society video? Oh, the poor, I'm going to try to show you guys some of this, but it's just shocking, right? The poor Humane Society does so much. I'm going to show y'all this video. Hold on. Because y'all need a reality check this morning, as is probably the case most mornings, right? It's not fair that dogs should be treated in this manner and there's no accountability. Y'all need to be hauled into jail for abuse and mistreatment of these dogs. I mean, the judiciary needs to really also get with the program and try their best to enforce whatever little laws that we have. The legislators need to improve upon the laws. There should be greater fines and penalties, including jail time, for people who abuse dogs. Y'all are not going to believe what some of the professionals who are out there and the volunteers who are out there on a regular basis working with animal welfare and animal rescue, what is it that they have to do? Sorry. It's just, quite frankly, unbelievable what they have to endure. And it breaks their hearts. Look at this poor little one now. My God. This is just, oh. Okay, let me show y'all. Because I'm not so sure sometimes you believe that this is even happening if you do not see it for yourselves. Look at this. Look at this poor little dog. Here's some news. I'm going to read what it says. It says the Humane Society received reports of a dog roaming on the highway in very poor condition. When we saw her condition, we knew she needed immediate help. I mean, look at the poor dog. And she's probably looking better now than she did when they first got her. Look at her. She roamed around this area. My God. We searched the woodland and surrounding area for a few hours without success and decided to set a trap with help from Courtney, David, and Tom. We asked David, a local resident, to check the trap throughout the night. And then look, after 8 hours, she walked into the trap. My God, what a disgrace. We took her to the Humane Society. Oops, missed that bit there. Hold on, let me back it up. We took her to the Humane Society for medical treatment. Look at this poor thing. I'm surprised she was alive. Pepper is very emaciated and dehydrated. She has severe mange, making her skin very raw. She has multiple open sores and is very anemic due to the high parasite burden. Wow. Look at her skin. Oh my God. Wow. My sweet. Just unbelievable. You human beings, call yourself human beings, you're responsible for this. Somebody had this dog and allowed her to get in this condition and just allow her to, I guess, be, roaming out there now that they no longer want her. Right? After 2 days, she's still very nervous, but accepting affection. My God, what a mess. I mean, this just really physically makes me ill. Pepper has a long way to go, and she will take months to recover, but finally she's receiving the love and attention that she deserves. You can imagine. And I have seen this with my own 2 eyes. If you want to help Pepper, please contact the Humane Society, folks, 949-1461. You can donate to them. They need monetary help, they need donations, and they need assistance. I've seen people abuse dogs in this country. Even that English Bull Terrier that I was telling you about that used to be my old neighbor's dog. When I called animal welfare because the dog had so many ticks on it. It was a white dog and it looked like it was a white and black dog because it had ticks covering its entire body and they had been feeding on the dog. Again, got the dog tied up outside. They'd been feeding on the dog for so long that the ticks were engorged. They were huge. And you have a dog tied up outside your house that you feed and supposedly feed and water every single day. See it full of ticks like that, and you think that that's okay? Y'all need to be in jail. Morning, caller.
Good morning, Sunday. Good subject. I'm a dog lover, and I love my dogs like I love my children.
Mm-hmm.
They are beautiful people.
Mm-hmm.
I thought with having my dogs, I thought slavery was abolished, but my dogs owns me.
Yeah.
It's so sad that I become emotional when I see the way that people treat the dogs, they need to learn from the dogs. If they become more like dogs, they would be more like a human being.
Exactly.
The thing about it is that I had a Rottweiler that I adopted from next door. He was the cutest little ball of fur, and the owner's daughter's boyfriend used to beat that dog with his shoe, and he would run through, run and come over to my place. And when he hear him coming, he would run into my house because me and him caught in it one day. And I said, listen, that dog is here for a reason. I am not allowing you to go in there and get my dog. Well, you'll see. I says, try me. Anyway, I learned to love the dog. And before I went on vacation, I took tick and flea and heartworm medicine to them, and I said, listen, your yard is infested with ticks and fleas. So when I got back in 2 months, I asked them what happened to Boss. I said, they said, oh, the woman told me, oh, the dog got wrapped around in the chain, and he was out in the sun, and he got a sunstroke. I said, I won't call in a name. That is not what happened. The dog is dehydrated. He has no immune system. The poor dog was such a bad shape. So I said, where's the dog? Oh, he's at the vet. We got him back, but we owe $700 to the vet. I said, I tell you what I'll do for you. I'll give you the money to give you the $700, and I will, and you sign over this paper to me. So I went and wrote out a contract, and I said, okay, here's the check for the $700. I thought you were going to give me the $700. I said, no, you owe the vet. You pay the vet this check. And the dog got so bad that part about, I guess it's about size of a tennis ball. His scalp had started to rot off of his skull.
Oh my God.
They should have been charged for
Animal abuse. Yes. Wow.
But anyway, I took him to up to the animal hospital, and Lana said, if there's anything, I don't know if there's anything I can do with this dog. And I said, I don't care. Take care of my boy. So she must have called somebody from the university she was trained in, and she called me. She says, give him this medication. It cost me, I think it was like, by the time he got where he took all his checkups and stuff, it cost me like $3,500. And he was such a beautiful dog. You know, he wasn't a dog, he was a child, four-legged child. And I would walk him, people would compliment me, and I got people would come, oh, but I got a Rottweiler, I want to breed him. I say, yeah, I have no problem with that. Take me to the person you're going to sell my grandchildren to, because I know that's what you want to do. You know, your dog is puppy mill. Take me to the person and let me inspect their house, their surrounding, and they have to sign a contract that they are going to keep the dog in the house. Otherwise, I have the right to take that dog and take him into my position. I never heard a thing from them after that. That's one way again. You know, it's so sad that it boils down to making money on these dogs.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
No dog should be a puppy mill. They're family. And you know, and I had him cremated, and I told my wife, anything happen to me, if I pass on, you use whatever part of me that can be used to help somebody live and cremate me and mix my ashes with his. People think that's gross, but you love it. It is your family. No, and the reason why dogs are getting poisoned, people can't get off their damn phone to and stop sending texts while they're walking. When I walk my dogs, it's an exercise for me.
Yes.
And I feel good to be out in the fresh air and know that they're happy. But know what they're doing. They'll be texting their friends, their family, or whatever, and the dog. You see a dog sniffing something, don't get off the phone and pull him away from what he's sniffing. That is because people are cruel. They will set poison in meat and all that stuff. Anytime, I never allow my dogs to pick anything off the ground.
That's right.
It happens occasionally because
they're so quick. Sometimes by the time you see what they're doing, they already ate it. But yes.
Yeah, you know, it's people need to go to jail for having cruelty to animals, being cruel to animals. Plain and simple. I have no sympathy for anyone. I mean, I know somebody's going to bash me for what I'm saying, but I don't care. I say it without apologies. I'm like you, man. I say I have no apologies to make to anyone because what I'm saying is the right thing.
Absolutely. Thank you, caller.
You keep on being the voice of the people of this island.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Folks, 936-2626. It's such a shame. And, you know, the worst part of this is that dogs have such immense love for their humans, right? The vast majority of dogs are just absolutely amazing. Look at this one. This just reminded me of how they love unconditionally. This dog, this was a courtesy post on the Cayman Islands Humane Society page 2 days ago. The dog owner is 89 years old and was taken to the hospital 10 days ago. The dog chased the ambulance out of the yard after her. My God, talk about love, right? She has never returned. She's missing from the Northwest Point Road area near Turtle Farm. If you see this dog, please call 321-8123. The owner is missing her dog. You can imagine being 89 years old and having the stress of your dog gone missing because they loved you so much. Bullet is the dog's name. Bullet was out there running around trying to run after the ambulance, wondering, where are you taking my lady? Where are you taking my owner? And now the 89-year-old lady is missing her dog. So if you see this dog in West Bay, please contact that number 321-8123, because obviously this is an amazing dog that loves that little old lady. You can imagine. We've seen dogs do things like lie in someone's grave after they passed, because, you know, they grieve just like people. They have emotions. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Sandy. You know, that was a really touching story of that guy. You know, I know how it feels to have a dog that you really love, right? And here what we had a dog in the garage where I was working at some years ago. And that was always tied up apparent to the owner. He said that dog just keep attacking one particular person and this was going on. It's too dangerous. It was a Dalmatian with a Great Dane mix. So it was a beautiful dog, right? And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna let him loose. Make him run around. I mean, it was a girl, sorry. Make her run around. I'd be like, I calling her. She liked that. And then always by my side. So I think the person was that this dog was always attacking, and that person was always rushing the dog. So I tell the guy, I say, you know what? Stop rushing the dog. And I can guarantee that it's not going to rush you back. Because it's always a problem with bicycles with this dog. And I mean, when she passed away, It was like, it was just like, you know, when she passed away, she ran away before she passed away. She her time was there because she was like apparently like 20 years old. So that was about her time. You know, I just felt good that I could have set her free for a bit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It really does give you a connection with those animals. Those dogs are almost like human beings. If not, they are.
Yes. Thank you, caller. I appreciate that. I think a lot of times they're better than human beings if you want to know the truth. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. You had some information yesterday from my wife about my car being stolen.
Your car being stolen. Which car is this?
It's a silver CRV, a 96.
I'm not sure. Did you send it to us on social media or?
I'm not sure what she sent it to you on. She was talking to you. You said that you don't understand because you sent her a message back, Miss Annie Beth.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on social media, I'm not probably the person who responded to her, so that's why it doesn't sound familiar to me. So I'm
no,
not
you
really...
I could hear your voice on the callback.
On the callback. So she messaged me on WhatsApp. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not ringing a bell. So you have a car that someone stole from you?
Yeah, they took the keys right out of my pocket and took off with it, and I guess it's been driving around town because it's been seen. And then he was also, I got all sorts of tools, my clothes, because I was in the middle of moving, and I had stayed at a friend's house anyways. All my stuff, all my medication.
Right. Sorry, it's now ringing a bell. So your wife, yeah, she did mention that you were sort of staying with a friend or something, and someone took your car. But she said that you were going to call with more details. But you seem to know who it is that took your car.
Yeah, it's Baidu.
Okay, well, who's the person? Just tell us who it is.
It's Charles Mervyn Bush.
Okay. So Charles Mervyn Bush, anybody knows Charles Mervyn Bush, kindly ask him to return this man's car. What day was it stolen?
Sunday morning.
Okay. So you've been without a car since Sunday morning. My goodness.
Yeah, now it's going on Tuesday, and I can't go to work. And like I said, he's got all my tools in his car, or all my tools are in my car. And he was seen at Cash Whiz, or not seen, but he got a call. The person who I'm staying with, he got a call from him saying that he's at Cash Whiz. So he ain't at Cash Whiz selling all my stuff. I have talked to the police. They said they're going to go investigate.
All right, Charles, give us the name again. Charles
Mervyn
Bush. All right, Charles Mervyn Bush, please return this man's car. This is just so unbelievable. So he had access to your pants pocket, basically, that had the keys in it.
Yes.
My goodness, horrible.
They did it at night, like I guess early Sunday morning or late Saturday night, because I had taken a shower and left my stuff laying there on a shelf in this bathroom, and he went right in there and took my keys out. And his brother had come over here around 4 o'clock in the morning, and my car was already gone. So I don't know. And the last time we talked to him or we seen him was about 11:30 the night before. So in between 11:30 and 12 or 4 the next morning is when my cars came up missing.
Okay. Do you happen to have a picture of Mr. Bush, of what he looks like?
Yes, I do.
All right, send that to me on the WhatsApp.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, Charles Mervyn Bush, please return this man's car and all of his tools. Folks, this is theft. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but you cannot take a vehicle or anything else that does not belong to you and just go away with it. It's called stealing. It's theft. It's a criminal offense to do so. My goodness. Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about drunk drivers. And then we're going to talk about this dancehall artist who decided not to perform. What a hot mess of a situation. Ay. Oh, before it passes my mind, let me first say, the person who won the trivia question yesterday, can you please WhatsApp me? I forgot to take that in the moment of excitement. You answered the question about where the guy left the stolen vehicle, and it was at the police station. So whoever got that question correct, can you please give me a call so that we can get you your prize? Because I totally forgot to take down your number. All right, today, folks, is World Turtle Day. Look at these beautiful, majestic creatures. I know we eat them, but they're still beautiful in their own way. So big shout out to all the turtles in the world. Happy World Turtle Day. You know, the conservation for turtles around the world is a very, very important one. And I came across these pictures, thanks to Kevin for reminding us that it is World Turtle Day. 6.5 million sea turtles left in the wild. The endangered hawksbill turtle ranges from 83,000 to possibly only 57,000 individually left worldwide. That's shocking, quite frankly. There's so many things that interfere with their habitats, the ability for them to properly breed and so on. So we got to do our part here, folks, to help to preserve turtles. Over 1 million turtles are killed each year due to plastic debris in the ocean. Horrific statistic there, folks. People who talk about we shouldn't be eating them, what we really need to be talking about is all the plastic and pollution that's actually killing more turtles than we could ever eat. Over 1 million, imagine. So do your part, folks. These little critters, look at this little one. Such an amazing shell. So pretty. All right. Happy World Turtle Day today. Okay. So let's talk about, let me just check the other messages on this phone. This person says, blessed good morning, Stan, dearest. That was Alejandro for the first car theft prize. Oh, was that who won it yesterday? Hope I'm spelling his name right. Alejandro. You won the prize yesterday? But I'm sure he will call you ASAP. All right. Well, don't let me forget now to be giving y'all the prize. What is this person sending me? Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. This person says, good morning. About the dogs, has it been reported to Agriculture Department? This is outrageous. Those dogs should be put down. They could kill a human being, a child, or an adult, God forbid. So sorry for your loss of your doggy. Oh, yes. The police were called that night and animal control was involved. The DPP office got the file and decided not to do anything about it, decided not to press charges. That's how biased they are. This person says, I have Pomeranians myself. Exactly. Why have a dog to be tied up under some tree and only have shade part of the day? Water gets hot. I wish that the dogs could be replaced by their human owners. Give them a taste of what they feel. Government needs to start charging people, for illegal animals and abuse, and make the fees like the feeding of the chicken and cats the other way. Well, the other thing too, folks, is just to kind of wrap up this thing with animal control is normally there's nothing prohibiting someone from owning a dog. So even after they've abused a dog, the judges and the courts have the power to say you can't own a dog for a certain amount of time, but then, they still do it. And so there's then a question of enforcement. That division needs more enforcement officers without a doubt. Okay. Thank you very much. And this person says, and San, once again, I'm so sorry for the loss and continuous pain and anxiety of your special sweet Coco. Thank you very, very much. I really do appreciate that. All right. So let's talk about drunk drivers. I got this video yesterday And I was so shocked at this. We have video footage of not just the driver, but the passenger, both of them driving around in a car drinking Coronas. So there's the passenger and there's the driver. Say what? Y'all saw this? The driver is driving a vehicle in the Cayman Islands. You can look at the background and see that this is Cayman. And they are both have open, and this is an offense without a doubt. They have open beers in the car, not just open, but they are drinking as they're driving. And we wonder why our roadways are so unsafe. You don't have to wonder, folks. You don't have to wonder. Take a look at this. This is exactly why we have so many accidents, why we have so many road fatalities, why we have so many deaths on our roadway, because people don't care. They are reckless. This is what they do. Yeah. And the police needs to arrest these two people. Let me be very, very clear here now about what needs to happen. They need to be arrested. They need to be charged. And they should be deported. Turns out they're not Caymanians. If they're own people, unfortunately, we can't deport them anywhere. Too bad. We'd like to deport some of our own too, trust me. But when you are here on a work permit, honey child, let me use my honey child of the day. I could get my honey child mug in the studio real soon. They're being printed. I went and looked at 2 samples yesterday. They look good. Big shout out to Miss Kathy, who's printing this batch for me over at Quick Images. But folks, you come to anybody else's country, you should be on your best behavior. I don't care what you do in your own country. You don't take it with you. You leave that baggage, that bad behavior back home. When you come to the Cayman Islands, you respect the laws of the Cayman Islands and you act accordingly. And when you don't, when you do things like this, you drink and drive, right? You're doing a little shoulder shimmy. The passenger is driving. Both of those things are an offense. You should not only lose your license, be charged with a criminal offense. Your insurance company, y'all need to figure out who this dude is. Yeah? Get him off of the streets, folks. No insurance company in the Cayman Islands should be willing to insure him now after seeing this video, because this demonstrates a degree of disregard for the law and complete recklessness. And then enforcement from an immigration perspective needs to say, oh, honey child, you are a persona non grata. You need to go, be gone. After you pay your fine and whatever else the court says that you need to do, right? Let this person be on the next plane out. I understand they're Dominican. Don't matter to me where they're from. Okay. You want to live that lifestyle? Not in the Cayman Islands, honey child. Mariani Dominicana. Adios. We have Randy Martinez Dominicano. Adios. Simple. Problem solved. I don't need to say nothing more about that, do I? Alejandro says this trend is back again. Dominicans, huh? Angela says, OMG, really? Yes, girl. These people are bold. Not even a seatbelt, says First Lady. Yes. Next thing you know, they run into a pole, they hit somebody, kill themselves or other people. If they kill themselves, then they're gonna be begging you all to help send the money back, because they're poor family thinking that they're here working to send home money. No, honey child. As my Honduran friends would say, que planchera. They're here to have a good time and to party their lives away, out drinking. We've seen it before. Remember the young girl who got killed because her friends were out drinking and she decides to get in a car with them? And they killed her. They took her life. And then her poor family like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Ayúdame. We can't pay for the funeral. We need the help. It is a very, very sad situation. Drunk driving ain't nothing funny and it's nothing to laugh about. Yeah. I'm just not, I cannot believe that people are this ridiculous. Perla says only the passenger can have the drink. A passenger drinking? No, ma'am. I don't know anything about that. There's not supposed to be any open liquor in a vehicle. The passenger should not be drinking either. I mean, no. You can't open it. You can transport it. Obviously, you go to the liquor store and you buy your liquor. You can take it home. You're not supposed to be opening it and drinking it in your car. John says that DUIs aren't going to stop. Need a proper taxi system and fair rates. Listen to me, John. These people would not take no taxi. They do not care. This isn't a situation where they went out and had a few drinks and then decided to drive. And maybe if they had alternative transportation, they are drinking in the vehicle. You understand me? These are people, you could have a taxi in every corner. They wouldn't care. They would still do this kind of foolishness. Deal with them, police. Deal with them. You have the respective information. I know y'all listen to the program all the time. Find out who these people are. I've just told you their names. You just got to put it together. They're both Dominicans. Go and arrest them. You've got the video evidence. You can look at the background and you can tell that that's Cayman. Alejandro says that's what happens when you grant driver's license in Cayman. It's not even about that. It's just about people being completely disrespectful and not caring about the laws of this country. Aliana says, I'm not going to lie, but I had my drunk driving days. Now I'm drunk riding. Ugh. Aliana, I'm glad you survived it, but please encourage other people not to engage in that kind of behavior. Seriously. Because you're lucky you're alive. We have one too many Caymanians and others who have lost their lives unnecessarily on the roadway, and the vast majority of them because of two things: drinking and driving and speed. That's it. That's what's killing people. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. First things first. May I congratulate you as administrator of Cayman Mile Road and the Cayman Mile Road the organization for being the top talk show host in the Cayman Islands.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's really great. Now, the issue you are discussing right now is very, very important, of course. Firstly, those guys who were filmed drinking, first of all, it's bad enough that you get behind the wheel and you are under the influence of alcohol. Mm-hmm. But to drink so brazenly and openly, I mean, the level of impunity it takes, I mean, it just shows you that it's like doubly wrong. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be drinking to begin with. I mean, I assume that if you are drinking to that kind of level, you are already quite drunk anyway, because that influences that behavior. And then you do it openly in that kind of way. That is something that they should clamp down on. Mm-hmm. But having said that, there is also a problem, I think, in my own experience. There's been a problem in the judiciary as well regarding how they handle these matters. There's one lawyer one time who said something on another radio show. Mm-hmm. They said that they went to court. Mm-hmm. They had a client. The client was Caymanian. Mm-hmm. It was before Christmas, and the person was convicted, but the sentencing report was not ready. Mm-hmm. So the judge adjourned the matter to something like January so that they could deal with that issue. But meanwhile, the judge revoked his license in the interim, so that person couldn't drive after that. Yes. And in the same court, I believe in the same morning, another drunk driver was being sentenced, or rather the case came up. And that drunk driver happened to be a non-Caymanian. And the same magistrate, I believe, said, okay, the sentencing report is not ready for this, but you can keep your license. So, And this is not something that I was there, but this was a lawyer talking on TV who said it happened to him because he was a Caymanian lawyer representing a Caymanian client. Do you see what kind of discrimination people go through?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that is really wrong, and the judiciary really can do better in those issues. You remember some time back, there was this judge Ingrid Mangatau who got convicted of drunk driving.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, you don't want to be unkind to people, especially that now she has left Cayman. But I understand she's got a job as a temporary judge in the British Virgin Islands. I read that in the public media. Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
It's in the public media. Now, you don't want to be unkind, but look, here is a judge who did that. And on the day, according to information publicly available, she left home. She was in night clothes. She went to the KFC, the one by the wharf. She bought some food and then got back into the car. She was jerking all over the place. Then to avoid a collision somewhere around Governor's Harbor, she rammed into a sign, came out of the car. She was reeking of alcohol. She was staggering. They arrested her. They breathalyzed her on the spot. She was over the limit about 2.5 times. Went to the detention center. They breathalyzed her. She was over the limit again.
Wow.
And then she was she left ultimately in the Cayman Islands after about 1.5 years. Incidentally, she left without delivering a judgment in a case in which I was involved. So I don't know if the drunkenness was related to the failure to deliver the judgment. That's the same case, by the way, I have before the Privy Council, but that's not the main thing of the story. You see, so, but my problem is this. At no point did either the Chief Justice or the Governor even make a general statement either during the case or after the case. At no point did any of them say, you know what, this is not the standard we expect of judges. Nothing. All of them praised her for loving the law, you see, because she admitted it. She did not waste the court's time. She admitted it because she was caught red-handed. There's no way in which, So to me, I think it would have helped in that particular case for them at least to make a statement to say, we don't want to interfere with the process, but this is not the standard that we expect of people to behave in judges. But in the end, she left. When she left, what they said, let me close on this, Sandy. When she left, they said this is like 1.5 years after that. They said, well, she has left of her own free will, and because she wants to pursue some other career opportunities.
Right. So we never even fired her after that.
Exactly. We never did fire her. She was earning something like 240,000 CI per year. 240,000 CI per year. Where does the Jamaican go to go and earn that kind of money in Jamaica? But anyway, she has found a way in the BVI. So the law enforcement officers, not just the police, but also the judiciary, need to do better, and they should stop being discriminatory. That is my rant for this morning. Thanks very much, Sandy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We missed hearing from you. We haven't heard from you in a minute. All right, callers, 936 Bobo is the telephone number. So folks, shocking, but I thank him for that reminder that apparently the law is not being applied equally to all. She lucky that we didn't have a talk show then, honey child, because y'all know we would have been riding that situation for a minute. You see, I sometimes feel like I have to remind people of this, right? In my mind, I do not care, and it does not matter if the perpetrator is your family, your husband, wives, mama, daddy, papi, this one, that one. I don't care if it's your favorite politician. Some of them criminals. I don't care if it is a judge. I don't care if it's Miss Cayman. Accountability is accountability is accountability. And we need to hold all people, respective of their positions in life, we need to hold them equally accountable. The law is supposed to apply to all. Yeah, without fear or favor. That's what the judiciary, Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. Rovina says discrimination's all around, not just in Cayman, but we need to stomp it out. She should not have been permitted to remain in that position. making $200,000 or in excess of $200,000 of the people's money after being convicted of a drunk driving offense. Right? Come on now. Now, it's occurred to me that we have on occasion, it is very rare because most of the judiciary can, stand and say that they've never been involved in any shenanigans. But on occasion, we have appeared to imported some that are less than stellar in their personal lives, and it flows over into their professional lives. And as such, we should address it, stamp it out. Do not allow it to go just so. That is the bottom line, really. One rule of law applies equally to everybody, right? I went to the airport on Sunday. I was there picking someone up. So, I go through security and I pull up. Sometimes it's hard to estimate how long it's going to take someone to come out. So you got to circle around a couple times. And I was there for about a minute and the police officer came and spoke to me and she said, Miss Sandra, I'm going to ask you to circle around for me because next thing you know, they're going to want to try and accuse me, the police officer, of giving you a blind because it's you. And I said, honey child, I ain't got no problem with that. I got gas in the car. It's the hybrid. We're okay. I have no problem leaving and circling back. Because I definitely don't want nobody thinking that I'm getting preferential treatment. Although normally it's the opposite. Normally I don't get preferential treatment because of who I am. Right? I said, ma'am, no problem. I don't want anybody looking at you sideways thinking you trying to give me a blight and made me sit there for 2 minutes instead of 1 minute. I'll circle back around. Mr. Orville says, I love your program as a Jamaican. Continue to do what you're doing. Thank you, Mr. Orville. Appreciate it. Aliana says, we're surprised. It's how you know and who back you scratch. Oh, you mean who you know? And it shouldn't be that way, right? Sometimes Lady Justice is applied correctly, right? And other times you see the application of it that you just shake your head and go, say what? Mr. Goodluck says, any news on the former Miss Kung Fu fighter? Yes, she's supposed to be coming up for sentencing. Hold on here now. I want to say it's the end of June. So her date was postponed because the department that does the reports did not have it ready. So I think we did an update on the website. No, I think it was actually maybe on our social media page. So let me just double check let me see. Let me search here and see if I can tell you quickly. I want to say it's June, the end of June, like the 20th or something like that. Did she spell her name with 2 N's? I'm trying to remember. Tiffany Connolly. 2 N's or 1 N? I can't remember. There's 1 N. That's not coming up. Hold on. Tiffany Connolly. There she is. She's got 578 followers. Let me see if I can find the post. Oh, child, she's still posting all about herself. Poor her. What a mess. Someone told me she was traveling recently. Life is good for her. She not got no worries. She ain't got no worries. Let me see here. I'll get the date, but I think it's like June the 20th or something. Maybe. But it should be the end of June that she's finally going to be sentenced. I guess we'll wait and see. So she was found guilty, and then okay, I'll try to find I'll try to find out when it is. I think it's June 20th or so. Kung Fu fighter. That's funny, says Marshall. Well, she is kind of a Kung Fu fighter, to be honest. Former Miss Kung Fu fighter, says Aliano. She's still fighting, but for her reputation now. But let not too close. But let not too close, or there goes your dingling. Oh Lord. Alejandro says I'd be more concerned if I had any beef with her. It's life when you're a professional fighter. Yeah, I mean, guys date her very sparingly. I mean, I guess everybody needs a little bit of love, but let me tell you something. She's a firecracker for sure. She'll definitely beat you up. So I would proceed cautiously. And don't dip in that pool too quickly. I want two things, says this listener to the program. The top that you're wearing today and Zeus. Aw, I will collect both later. Thank you very much. Oh, you like this top? Really? Oh my gosh, you guys make me blush. Okay. So let's talk about our final topic of the day. I'm hoping we can get probably about 5 minutes of overtime. Is Chuck around? Hey, Chucky. Let me just do a quick call. You know when you call people and then you hang up? That's just because you want them to read the message. You're not actually calling to talk to him. That's what I'm doing to Chuck right now. Let it ring and he'd be like, oh, who's calling me? Oh, Sandy needs some overtime. So probably only about 5 minutes. I don't have much to say on this, except this guy, what's his name now? These dancehall people, I can't keep up with y'all. Okay. This guy is a performer. His name is, what's his name, Renee? Hold on. I think he goes by Gangsta. Oh Lord, y'all know I'm out of my league with these people. Is his stage name Baker Official? But then he goes by Gangster. I don't know. Listen, Jamaicans always got about 50 million names that they go by, honey child. And sometimes you get confused by which is which. Anyway, he came to Cayman and he was supposed to perform on Saturday night. Well, lo and behold, he never performed. Now, you people were the ones telling me that he didn't perform and he was at the venue, observed smoking pot at the venue. I don't know who might have given him permission to do that. He must have didn't read the laws and came down so closely. But anyway, he was there smoking his little spliff, his marijuana, and not going on stage and performing. So right away, some people said to me, Sandy, I bet you anything that this man did not perform because he was not paid. And I said, oh, they said, yes, this is actually, I wouldn't say common, but it has happened before. Someone mentioned some other artists that came here. And likewise, he would not perform because I guess they gave him like a deposit in advance to come. And then when they get here, before they get up on stage, honey child, they want the rest of their money. Well, he didn't get the rest of his money. So this is what he said. He actually addressed it. Let me see if I can find. Let's see if I can find. Oh, that one's not saving properly. Hold on. Let me see if I can get y'all the message here. Because he said, no, I'm not going to be performing. And in fact, he issued an apology. Somebody needs to fork up some money. Let me be very, very clear on how this works by law. Okay? You hold an event and your performer does not perform. People paid good, hard money in order to attend said event. You need to pay them back their money. Every single person who attended this event with the expectation of seeing this guy, whatever his name is, Gangsta, Baka, I don't know, whatever, and that did not happen, you deserve not just this cockamamie apology that was issued, that's fine, whatever, but you deserve your money back. So I guess his stage name is Mobster, whatever. So he says, I'm writing to express my heartfelt apologies for not being able to perform at the Cayman show. And I guess it must have been something that was very fluid because, like I said, everybody says he showed up there. you know, ready to perform. At least he was ready smoking pots. I guess he was getting in the mood. He was feeling the groove. He goes on to say, my absence was due to contractual agreements not being upheld, which were beyond my control. Despite our efforts, we were left with no option but to cancel my appearance. I value my fans in Cayman and never want to let you down. Well, you did that, but anyway. I'm committed to bringing you the best music and experience possible. I will work hard to ensure that our future performances are unforgettable. Thank you for your continued support and understanding. No, sir. Future performances? You mean to tell me that you fools gonna pay money to go to an event put on by either him or I mean, in a way, it's not his fault, but I still wouldn't go. Either him or this guy named Rush? Y'all must have loved to waste money. That's the only thing that comes to my mind as you enjoy wasting money. Well, I tell you what, I was a bit surprised. The guy who brought him in, his name is Orlando Wright, aka Rush. That's his alter ego name. And so this is what he's up to. Let's see if Mr. Rush can answer the phone here this morning. Nope, he not gonna answer the phone. Now, there's more to this than rushes the eye. Listen carefully, folks. This guy is a real con artist. I tell you. He's not going to answer the phone here today because he owes people money otherwise. He goes around with some side hustle, some side business, claiming
you have reached the voicemail
that he is going to paint your vehicles and paint your cars for you. And then he doesn't do it. He doesn't complete the job. Yes, he's going to be featured. And takes your hard-earned money. Can somebody who's friends with Rush please have this man come forward? We have seen the horrible paint job that he has been doing on people's cars, not completing it. And then when they say, sir, I want my money back, they're like, oh, I don't have any money to give you. Well, that is nobody problem, but yours. You better find people money. Every single one of you are entitled to a refund this weekend. Don't let Rush fool you into accepting any excuses or foolishness. Demand your money back. You know, there has to be, this is really a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Somebody's asking if he's the brother to Davian Wright, the other car scammer. I don't even know, honey child. That's a good question. I don't really know who he's family to or who he's related. I do know that obviously, you know, we've imported him and given him some sort of status for him to be able to work. He's got some company called Rush Holdings Limited, according to him. Y'all better be on the lookout for this fella. Rush's Car Care. So as usual, opening up all these businesses and not running any of them to any degree of standard. And then you, the consumer, left holding the bag as usual. So I don't know who he family to, honey child. I just know he's not family to me. Orlando Wright. Got Instagram page all over the place, messing up people's vehicles. And then, you know, talking about here, give you a paint job. Well, let me show you what kind of paint job you're going to get from Rush, because y'all need to see it with your own eyes. It's certainly nothing that you should be wanting from him, because it's absolutely deplorable. The condition that he leave people car in, talking about he giving you a paint job. Y'all need to see this. Hold on. Let me see if I can find one of the photos here. This is his social media account. And then, let me see. Oh, yes. Here's one of the pictures of one of the vehicles. Look at this. This is his paint job that he's doing for you and charging you good money for. No, sir. This is where it's at, folks. These are the jokers we got running around the place talking about their business owners, so-called promoters. Aliana says this is a constant issue, and I'm tired of all these functions that plain scams. You know, y'all need to stop taking your hard-earned money. And I know for some of y'all, it is very, very hard-earned money. And paying these so-called promoters to do what? You know? To do what? Unbelievable. Everton says, if I was in this guy's shoes, I would have done the same thing. The promoter did him wrong. These promoters, some of them are crooks. You made an agreement with the guy, stick to your agreement. Good morning, caller. Hello?
Yeah, Miss Sunday, about them old cars, right? You know, I've been noticing it because I had to change my I paint cars, so I stopped painting cars because there was so much car painters on the island. I was like, you know, go and do it at your better price. There's a lot of people on this island that is doing paint jobs for a better price with like the poorest quality. And I'm making these people go and get these jobs done for themselves to see what they're missing out when I would be providing better quality at a fair price. So I'm not surprised at this story. I just waiting for one of them to be called out. Yeah, you got a lot of experienced people here that are learning the trade. Yep. I'm only just saying that because I noticed it ever since COVID started. I've been painting cars since 2013, and I had to resort into painting boats because at least they have some people that understand quality. And then, yeah, even to that, they have some people that still cheap and bargain on your work versus people that would just give you cobbler work, as my mentor used to call them, cobbler people.
All right,
yeah,
thank you very much.
Going and painting cars and buffing them, making them look a little presentable just for the showroom. And then when you go out on the road, they just start burning out.
All right, my dear, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so here's some more pictures. Look at this. This is the paint job he's gonna give y'all. Look at that. What a hot mess. Yes, honey child. What a disgrace. Look at that. Wow. You might as well not have even painted this vehicle. I don't know what it looked like before, but it seems to me you should have just left it alone than to get somebody like him. Unqualified. This is what they're doing to poor people. Sir, please get some money together and refund these people their hard-earned money. And people, warning to you all, stop falling for these scammers. Do as Alejandro said, do your research. Not everybody that come in cheap and some fly-by-night operation is who you need to be talking to. Talk to other people. Right? They put on a good show. Have they put on a good show before? Come on now.
Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Orlando.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great and magnificent. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. This is Sandra Hill.
Yeah.
Cayman Mall Road.
Okay.
We have some questions for you, and I'm hoping you can help us out here this morning. First thing is the show this weekend. What happened? Because a lot of people have been calling and complaining, saying that they want their money back. You didn't pay the performers what he claims. And so, you know, he didn't perform and people were there to see him. So how can people go about getting a refund from you?
Well, I literally broadcast a message in a group that I had, so persons can just link me directly and I have a refund.
All right, so you're prepared to give everybody a refund?
Definitely, as long as they have some proof that they purchased a ticket and the price they paid for it.
Okay, all right, good. So that problem is solved, so everybody can hear it now. They're going to get a refund. What about this other situation? And by the way, I'm just curious, how long have you been a promoter for?
Just quite a few years, maybe 2 years.
Well, what happened to this event? Why weren't you able to pay the guy?
Well, it is not about able to pay the guy. It's nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is he posting up saying he never got paid? He had a contractual disagreement.
Well, we agreed on that, not to blight his future. 'Cause, you know, as an entertainer, things can can give a backlash. So I agreed on that, and I have no problem. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know exactly what you're saying. You're kind of talking in circles right now, but that means you won't be bringing him back to Cayman, and this will be happening again.
It will be here very soon, but I don't sure about the date as yet. But as I said, I agreed on the statement here, right? So I have no problem giving the people that information. And also people can get back the refund. So whenever I come again,
and when will people get refunds by? Somebody's asking, you know, they come today, they're gonna get the refund same time?
Yeah, definitely. Once they eat me up.
They just need to show you that they paid for the ticket. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you are also a painter. That's another business you have other than being a promoter. And we've received complaints that you've done poor paint jobs or incomplete paint jobs and you owe people money. So when can those people get their money for that as well?
Well, that is a different ball game right now.
Why is it different?
Well, I have to go down in details. The job, the people that particular person complaining about, I literally that job is like 90% completed. But because we have the event over the weekend, I never get the chance to finish it as I told her before. So you know, yeah, she just come and she take it. So.
But you can see how that's
like
not
2
really.
hours.
You understand how that's not really somebody. If I bring you my car and you say, all right, Miss Sandy, I'm going to have your car done in 3 days, right? I can give you 4 days out of an abundance of, you know, being a nice person. But you have.
So what about if you're supposed to pick up that car Monday, right? And you took Monday, like for instance, Sunday when you come, you said to me, Rush, you know, I'm not gonna be able to pay that money until Saturday. Or what do you feel about that?
I mean,
knowing that the job is like almost completed and you make plans for your money already and you get that news, you're not going to get that money until Saturday, or what do you feel?
Well, clearly that's not what the person is saying transpired, but
okay. Well, I'm telling you that's what happened.
So you're saying that they were not paying you money.
I did. She mentioned that she was going to give me the money Saturday, which is my event on Friday, so the Saturday. And yeah, so on Monday, the Monday, that's when I should literally give her the refund. So after working so hard, trying to get everything completed and so forth, she said Saturday. I never have a problem telling her, but you know, as going along, I have the event coming up. I have so many things to do. So,
all right, hold on 1 second. I think this might be her. This might be her on the call. So let's just hear the situation. Caller, good morning.
How are you? Good
Not
morning.
bad. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
Not too bad. So tell me what's going on here. He says that you owed him some money.
Hold on. On the 8th of May, took my car in. Before then, I said to Rush, how much are you going to charge me for the car? He said $2,000. I said, how much deposit do you need? 60%. I gave him more than 60% of the deposit. I gave him $1,500. Okay. I said to him, when will my car be done? A week. He didn't talk about no stage show or nothing. If he was having a situation with his stage show, sis, I have a stage show. I can't do your car right now. Could we put it on the back fire until it's finished? He didn't say that. Anyway, I still gave him
Call disconnected. All right, give us a call back. You can call on WhatsApp if you ran out of credit. I'm not really sure what happened, but you can call that same number on WhatsApp. Here we go. All right. Caller?
Sorry,
Yes.
Sandra, we got disconnected. I paid $1,500 for the car. I balanced him $500. Where I work, I don't scam people. I'm a business woman. I pay my money. If you tell me a job is going to cost me $3,000, I'm going to pay the $3,000. I don't scam. In a way, told me that he would work on the car. Mother's Day would get the car back. He sprayed it, but it had some drips on it. He's going to deal with the drips. I said, okay. Monday, went there. He said, I'll get it back Tuesday evening. Tuesday, I call him. Wednesday, I call him. Thursday, I call him. I took the police down to where my car was. A matter of fact, my car was underwater on Saturday. So where his job is water. My 2 wheels taken off because he was painting the calibers of the wheel. He left my wheels in the water. Yeah? All right. My investment of my car that I bought. Okay? Since he won't come out and tell me, he tell me things, I could tell you exactly. I don't need to lie. Anyway, he didn't show me no pictures of the car, period. Still waiting on pictures. Can't see the pictures now. Anyway, Thursday I took police down there, took my car to someplace else. The man charged me to repeat my car over. That's how bad the car had looked. Yeah? That cost me money out of my pocket. I said to Rush, since I gave you $1,500, give me back $750 because the job was not completed. 2 calibers painted and the other 2 calibers not painted. The 2 other wheels not painted. That don't make no sense. Yeah? Anyway, he told me I wasn't gonna pay him the $500. I don't believe in scamming people. If I paid you more than 60% of your money, what make you think I wouldn't pay you the $500? So he's lying. He's lying.
I didn't say
Yes, you
he
just
wasn't
did say.
wasn't gonna pay me.
You
You
did
told
say
me
that. You just said. You just said
you told me
that
you
I
was
was
gonna give
not
me the
going to
money
pay.
Saturday.
I wasn't going to give you
Margaret,
no
is
money
that what I
Saturday.
just said?
Me, you never had no discussion Saturday. Because if I
Margaret, is
took
that
my
what I
car,
just said?
if I took my car Thursday, how am I going to have a discussion with you Saturday that's just gone?
Sandra,
That don't make sense.
One
That's
second.
lying.
Let's hear what
the
he's
Monday.
saying.
You came the Monday and you said to me you're gonna give me the money on Saturday.
Okay.
This is before taking the car or after taking the car?
Gonna give me the balance on
But
Saturday.
hold on. How am I going to give you a balance on Saturday if my car doesn't even look the way I want it to look? You just couldn't handle the painting the beast. That's the whole problem. You couldn't handle painting my car.
Well,
Tell me that you couldn't handle it. No, I don't want to hear about sorry.
I'm so glad my guy.
You even had a guy there that even said, "But I finished the woman car is fooling around." I had 3 witnesses to tell me that on Tuesday I was going to get my car. All now Tuesday come, couldn't even get a conversation from you. You know when I got a conversation from you? When your show was done. When your show flopped now, you want to come to me and ask me to finish my car? Look, I go in court with you, and it's just what it is. You got to pay me more than the $750 because I got asked for more because I had to turn around and get someone else to do my work. That don't make no sense.
Rush,
and I'm not the first person
one second, caller.
Yes,
Rush,
ma'am.
it seems to me that it might be in your best interest to go ahead and try to settle this. Since you're going to be issuing refunds anyway, find the $750, just pay the woman her money and be done with it.
Sandra, explain to him what will happen when he comes to court. He'll pay more than
you got to pay more than that. Yes. And you see, the problem is, Rush, I mean, obviously, there are people sitting back listening to your story. They're listening to the victim's story. I'll call her a victim in this situation. And they are now saying more about you. This is why I tell people, listen, Cayman is a very small place, like a small town, right? And your reputation should be something that you try to protect at all costs. because when you end up in these, situations, right, where you have a concert and you didn't pay the performer, he has to go on social media, people reaching out to Cayman Mall Road about it, complaining they want their money back. Then there are people who are going to send me a message like this one. Listen to what message I just got about you. These people say Orlando Wright is a crook. If you search the quote list, you'll find him, because I saw it recently for Traffic Matter, and that you even have insurance companies declining your applications. They say you're married to Fufu Caymanian, and that you're in court for beating her too, and that you're using her, and that's a marriage of convenience. You see how people get all up in your business, whether it's true or not, because I don't know you from the man in the moon, Mr. Orlando. I'm not saying that it's true, but what I'm saying is all of a sudden now people are going to be talking what they do know, and putting your reputation even more into the dogs. So sometimes you have to just do the right thing and step out,
Let me tell you something. You see, you realize what Jesus was. Jesus was so good, and you realize what
Don't
they end
put
up
Jesus
doing
in
to him,
that.
they crucify him.
Put Jesus in that.
But listen, Jesus is
I'm
supposed
just
to be the only person who, yes, but Rush, he's the only one who walked this earth without blemish. The rest of us should not be comparing ourselves to him, because we can't say that. And it seems to me, whether intentionally or not,
I'm just trying to show you.
Show me what? Because it's not making no sense.
No matter how good you do, okay. But anyhow.
But the problem is you're not doing. The problem is you're not doing good.
Miss Sandra, I'm not saying that he didn't peak the car good. He peaked the car good, right? But you know what my problem with him? You know what my problem with him? Yeah, I can go because he know I talk the truth. What my problem with him? He's not a man of priorities. When you're in a world like this, you have to be a priority.
And you have to be a person of your word, importantly, as well.
No, I had to turn around. If I send you pictures of the car that I just repainted, you will say, wow, that's a big difference. Come on, man. Take criticism where criticism is due. Is just what it is. We are in a workforce here. We have a business. People need to learn to be on their business priorities. I spoke to him already. I said, listen, bro, I'm a priority listener. I prioritize myself a lot. I gave you my car because I heard good stuff about you. But no, it's not good. It's just not what it is. All I'm asking you, but did 90% of the car. If you had did 90%, mean you wouldn't have this conversation. Why would you think that I wouldn't pay you? If I pay you more than 60%, what make you think of measly $500 I'm not gonna pay you? Why should I pay you for a job that's not done? That don't make no sense.
Yes.
If you had finished the job, Miss Sandra, and I had liked it more, I would have given more than what I owe him or what he said that I owe him. I don't owe him nothing. I gave him $1,500. I only owed him $5. The job was not completed. It's just what it is. If I have a construction business and I go and I do the business, and Sandra, I've done work with you before, you know how our work ethics are. We work and you pay. If we don't work, you don't pay.
Yeah.
So this has to be exposed, and he has been like this for too long, and I must be the only one to step up to expose him because I want my money. I work too hard for somebody to come and take my money, how they feel, and take me for an idiot. That's not how that gonna work for me.
Rush,
I work government.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gonna do the right thing or what? What are you gonna do with the situation? Let us know.
Sandra, if he doesn't pay my $750. Sandra, if he doesn't pay
let him speak. Hold on. Let him speak. So in other words, you're saying that you're not going to pay her the $750.
As I said, I'm not going to pay her $750. I did 90% of the job.
Okay.
The fuel of the spot that I scuff out all in.
Sandra, I have pictures before and after I took my car in. You heard what I said to you? I have pictures before and after I took my car in. Everything that he done, I have took pictures of. I have took pictures of the person that is doing my car now. It is a lot different. That's a business person. You understand? If I put that on Mall Road, people see that, they will say, wow, it's a difference. It's just what it is. You need to take criticism and you need to pay me my money, because if you don't, he got paid more. Because he got paid more for me for renting the car and inconvenienced me for 10 days.
That's true. The judges will look at all of it.
You contacted me for 10 days. Then you got to turn around now. You inconvenienced me for 10 days without a vehicle, rent a car, had to turn back around and go take my car to somebody else to finish the job. That's another extra money. Again, you're looking at $4,500 going into $5,000, and I'm only asking you for $750. Bro, something wrong with you, yo. Something wrong with you. and I'm asking you, something is totally wrong with you.
Mr.
You
Orlando,
need to go take a business class.
I want you to think hard on it. I mean, ultimately, it's up to you what you decide to do. But
Yeah,
I would recommend
I would
recommend you think hard on it. Okay.
Miss Sandra, thank you for your time.
Yes,
thank you so
ma'am.
much.
What a
Okay,
mess.
bye.
All right, dear.
Yeah.
Wow. Some comments of note here. Caller, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yes, Andy, this one is hot. First of all, that Mr. Orlando is not related in any way to the rights that me and my family could never be.
Oh God.
So like that straight, because sometimes people call that, oh, is that your family? Nope, no family to me as right. And that's straight.
God.
And I wanna just second what Alejandro talked about. Because you know what? We, meaning you and many that's on here, been business people in Cayman. We will be in business in Cayman and we will have to shut down because our own people find it hard for us. And as I don't know about this generation of Caymanians, but we were always people that give people their money's worth, that we work hard for what we do, because you know why? We have a name to protect.
That's right. And we
Because
don't know, most of us not gonna know where else we can go.
Right. If we go out there and you do something, oh boy, you know, Miss Darlene or Miss Sandra did this, whatever, but and that's it. We're ruined. So we always had that in the back of us that we're gonna do business, it's gonna be right, we're gonna treat people right. Because you don't want your name out there. We want to, you know, make sure that everything is right. But no, this is the point. I want to appeal to every Caymanian, young, old, or in between. Get this whole thing out of our head. Stop taking on or marrying these men and women that mean us no good. It is better to be alone, I'm telling you. Leave them out. Leave them out. If you go shop and buy little tools or whatever, toys, whatever, women, do it. Because this is what is ruining our little country.
That's right.
They married today. They gone over there. They got 5, 6 different women. They're in your life. You running up and down like an idiot, trying to catch up with them and how many women they got out there, and ruining your reputation. Your children watching this, and no, I'm telling you, we need to get it straight, Caymanians. We need to get it straight. We do not. It is better to be alone and happy than to have to live like this, like we desperate. We are not desperate. Majority of us is good women. That's why they find us and they use us, and then they turn around and laugh at us. So,
but some of these young ladies, Miss Darlene,
going.
Some of these young ladies out there now, they are desperate, unfortunately, and they're trying to abuse and use the system. That's why they're picking up these no good men. It's a two-way street, you know. They're trying to use them, making them give them money every month.
I don't know which hole they coming out.
Well,
God
yes, that's some of our people.
But you know what?
We call a spade a spade.
Something we got to do better. And lastly, another thing I would want to do: support Caymanians. Please, I beg on her. If Alejandro is down the road and he doing little Peting, like I say, he gonna do the best because he afraid somebody run and say, oh, so and so son Alejandro, you know, he what them other foreign people, they can get their bag of money and they leave. They leave. We as Caymanians, we are there. So support, whether it's a little restaurant like Sarah Sue, whether it's you on the road selling your ruku, get together. Let's make this a campaign. Caymanians, we need to help each other. That's the only how we're gonna survive. Everybody looking at us like we fool or fool them or people say the Johnny come lately. Everybody that sits, especially like in Jamaica, they're sitting down making a plan. And God forbid, I got a lot of Jamaican friends. So don't get you wrong. I got a lot of Jamaican friends. I love them dearly. But they are there. These one now that coming along have a motive. They come in, they got Mario, they got kicking you behind, then you're gonna be running up and down chasing them because they got 3, 4 women here, and then they got another 3, 4 back and home or wherever they come from. And we looking like idiots. Come on, women or young ladies. This is not us. We Caymanians were never like this. Where we fall into this now? We are bigger and better than this. So we need to band together, bond together, help each other. If on a hair somebody got a little shop down there, Go as a Caymanian, you got a little construction. Go as a Caymanian. You know, we may charge you a little more, but we know why. We have more bills to pay. We're gonna do a good job. You know, I'm here in the UK, and I have never seen a unity. You know who I look up to? These Asian people. As bad as it be, I have learned so much from these people, Sandra. If you go into Asian business, every one of them and there are families related. If you got down an apartment block, every one of them live together, 3, 4 generations. You know why? They're building their empire. They're billing and they're not scamming people to bill it. They're working together and helping each other and at the same
Yes.
time helping other people. You know, we come on now. We got to do better. All right. Okay, Sandy. Good.
Yes, my
Bye-bye.
dear. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Lots of people saying thank you, Miss Darlene. Absolutely right, says Miss Sue. It's sickening when you do a job and don't get paid, says Aliano. I totally agree with the caller, especially about Filipinos. Y'all heard it, says Perla. A few more comments before we end the program today. So let me see here now. We have Everton says he's going to come over here and find a woman to get married to. What a hot mess, because y'all so desperate. RD says all these Jamaican men do or got to do is sweet talk some Cayman women. And when they, with 2 words, then bam, free ride all the way until the fools figure it out. Don't feel sorry for Nana Anna. And a lot of times, sadly, RD, they don't figure it out. That's the sad part. Lord have mercy. Marshall says, I don't understand why so many Jamaicans come to Cayman, get a business license, and then try to scam people. The law needs to step in and look into this mess. And you know, the sad thing is, Marshall, they don't have to do it. There's enough people here who are willing to pay. One thing with Caymanians, for the most part, you know, you do a job for them, whether it's construction or whatever, they will pay you. You agree on your price and they're going to pay you. So there's no need to be scamming people. RD says, boy, Cayman can sure attract some real interesting characters. Instead of nation building with educated, outstanding people, we go for the worst with the help of some of our own local fools. And RD, as someone who is married to an expat, and in particular Jamaican, I couldn't agree with you more. You would think I was going to go and pick up somebody who worse off than me? Oh, hell to the no. You have to bring somebody to the table who can add some value to your life. Young ladies, please get it together. It's not about that little ding-a-ling. We're not on the radio anymore. So let me be honest with you. It's not about that little ding-a-ling. That can't feed no bills. That can't pay no bills. Feed no bills. That can't feed nobody. That can't pay no bills. Yeah? That's slinging all over the universe. Everybody getting a taste of it, so not even special. Get your act together. Caymanians, women in particular. Not so much the men, you know. A couple of men get fooled, but they tend to be fooled by another nationality, not really Jamaicans. They being fooled now by the Filipinos. I'm just saying. That's a whole other story. Them little seamen. Pension be gone before you know it. But, you know, you have to look very, very carefully at the motive. Why are people interested in you? Why are they here? They're trying to get a one up on you. You think I can bring any man into Cayman, right? Can't work, don't want to work, lazy, scamming people, out there slinging his penis all over Kingdom Come, cheating on you, beating you, and you gonna stay with me and my house and must breed me? You must be out of your damn mind. Come on now, women. Get it together. You cannot be that desperate. Perla says they want papers. The paper clearly has no value to it. Y'all are allowing this country to be ruined. Scammers are ruining it. Why? To give somebody the benefit of saying they can come to Cayman and live a lifestyle that they couldn't have lived in their own country? Aliana says, Sandy, the long, pretty hair and fake bonke is my kryptonite. Well, look, you love the Spaniards, and be careful too. I'm not saying anything against any nationality. You find good and bad anywhere. However, most of what comes to Cayman is coming here for a reason. Okay? Not all, but come here with ulterior motives because they can't know better do in their own country. So they are desperate to find a fool. You don't be desperate to be taken advantage of as a fool. Set your standards, stick by them, set your standards high, stick by them, and don't take up with any and everybody. Try to do better. Somebody who adds value to your home, value to your life. Somebody sent me a photo. This is the next one now that I'm going to address before ending the program here today, of this guy, Selvin. Yeah? He is attending. I mean, I couldn't even believe this when the person told me that's who he is. Of course, I don't know him. So when they sent the picture, I'm like, who is this? So they said, Sandra, so this man is not in jail and around girls that are like 15 years old at a birthday party? I said, what? I said, well, who he be? Who he is? And they're like, oh, Miss Sandy, that's the child molester convicted just last week of how many counts of molesting a child from when she was 7 years old for 5 years? I can't believe that the court allowed him bail. His bail to continue, I should say. And he's out in these streets, and we're going to post this up because once again, this shows to a large extent some of the foolishness that is happening in the judiciary. So this dude is out at a birthday party around underage children. He should not be around underage children, none at all. This is disgusting to see someone actually be able to send me a photo. Let me show you the evidence that this is what he's up to. Really? No, sir. We got to do better. Or there has to be better accountability across the board. This is just ridiculous. Wow. And all the other adults that standing up there with him are just as bad as him. Young girls. You can imagine. Wow. All the people like his wife and in-laws and everybody else inviting him to a party and letting him go. Y'all need to do better. Unbelievable. Y'all have no scruples. You're not here to protect children. You're here to just let the predators loose on them. Horrible. Folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We got our Wednesday edition all lined up for you. You guys have a beautiful day. Please be safe out there. And all I can tell you is we're going to address the issues one at a time, highlight one crook at a time, bring them to your attention. And it's up to you whether you want to deal with these people. Y'all need to start smartening up as consumers. Stop giving them your hard-earned money. They'll soon be out of business. Yeah? All right, folks. Until tomorrow morning, please have a blessed day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.